Hey everybody, it's the top of the hour. That means you got a little bit of time to get yourself all squared away. So go ahead and get yourself some snacks, get something to drink, get all comfy cozy and share out the link with your friends and folk not already in the stream, because the Suzette Veneti Show will begin in about 2.5 minutes.
Isn't that the way? Everybody's got their dues to pay. Yeah, I know nobody knows where it comes or where it goes. I know it's everybody's sin. You got to lose to know how to win.
Welcome to the virtual Stab Comedy Theater. It's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. So please welcome to your screen your host, Suzette Veneti.
Hey everybody, it's 5:03. It's Sunday, March 21st. So if you have plans for St. Patrick's Day, you're late. Also, hot tip, don't wear green on your person when you're doing a green screen show. Anyhow, let's start the show off. Welcome to the show, the Suzette Veneti Show, the only show hosted by a drag princess who's been awake for 26 hours. Okay, here we go. The anti-Asian hate. Why? This isn't a joke. Come on, white people. Look around. You do it to everybody. Stop. Stop, white people. Stop. Okay. The California Attractions and Park Association, CAPA, a trade group which represents theme parks statewide, is backing a plan that would tamp down on the effects that shouting and yelling on rides such as roller coasters could have in spreading the virus. The group is asking riders of roller coasters and other amusement park rides to enjoy either A, enjoy the ride silently, or B, make sure they're screaming with enjoyment into a face covering. It's kind of like how some people scream into a pillow when they're overwhelmed, except the opposite. So if you're going on a roller coaster ride, stifle your screams of joy, says the California Attractions and Park Association. Miami-Dade County is declaring a state of emergency over spring break. Spring breakers are crowding the beaches and clubs so much that Miami is enforcing a 9 p.m. curfew. Our correspondent on the scene, Chad from Tuscaloosa, says, "Dude, this is indeed a state of emergency. Everyone knows the real partying doesn't start till 11 p.m. Chad. Of course, when polled, spring breakers are only 50% aware that there actually is a pandemic. Half of them are ignorant and just unaware, and the other half are from families of deniers. So, and in the news, Nacho Vidal, a porn star, was arrested for reckless homicide via toad venom. That's weird. And that's all I got for me, because I didn't know how to make a joke of that. So we're going to go to someone, not Clifton, he couldn't make it tonight. We're going to go to one of my favorite people in the world, hilarious comedian, back on the road. Find her, go see her. Also give her a follow, send her some coin, and she can make a joke out of anything, especially this. So welcome to the show, Chelsea Bearce.
Oh my God.
What?
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for kicking the show off with so much energy and enthusiasm, bitch.
Just for you.
No, my God. I've got to teach a seminar or something, and it's just for you. Like, let's kick it up. Kick it up.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
I get it. The world is depressing. We're in a fucking terrible state right now. No one knows what to do. But energy. What's up, bitch? How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. Did you have brunch today?
We did. Every Sunday.
And continue. Talk
Okay.
about it. I wasn't there. Come on.
Sure. I know. You need to come back. Okay. So it was Broadway themed.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
If I had known that, I probably would have made it happen.
Okay.
Damn it.
I hope that you would have enjoyed my performances. Popular from Wicked.
Okay.
And I had a bar back, and I did awful makeup on him as a makeover.
Okay.
And then I actually did Satisfied from Hamilton.
All right.
You know.
Okay.
Sometimes you got to live your dream.
Yeah. You did a little Angelica Schuyler, did ya?
I did.
All right.
I did. A toast to the
Okay.
groom.
That is definitely a role I would give almost anything to play. Any of the Schuyler sisters, I would play without a doubt. That's something that I would absolutely love to do.
Even Peggy.
And Peggy, because
Okay.
Peggy is then Maria Reynolds, like
True.
in Act 2,
Right.
which is also a very juicy role. Don't
Yeah.
get me started on fucking Broadway. What are you doing? Oh,
I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm bringing energy
I had shit to talk about.
by talking about Broadway with you.
I don't want to talk about that. But
Okay.
you know what? We haven't talked. I never know what I'm going to talk about. That's kind of what this segment is now called. It's just like, who knows? I never know what I'm going to talk about on this show. And I think about it like as I'm logging in. I'm like, oh shit. So I do a lot of prep for this show, just so that you know, as you yawn in my fucking face. No, it's fine. It's fine. We haven't talked about dating in a very long time because I haven't done it in a very long time. I haven't dated in a very long time. I kind of went off the apps. Like the apps were kind of bullshit to me. But then one guy kind of kept his like hat in the ring. Okay. So let's talk about this for a second.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me if there's any sort of red flags that you think have been brought up. Okay.
Okay.
So this guy, he's a single guy. Obviously, he's older than me. He's like 43, 44. Okay. And he's, I think originally from the East Coast. He has 2 kids that he doesn't see anymore. 2 kids with 2 different women. Okay. So already I'm just kind of like, which is fine. Like, I get it. Like, everyone has their own thing. Everyone has their own thing. Okay. But 2 kids, 2 different women.
Right.
Okay. And he like has his own business and all that stuff. But he brings up his business when it's convenient. Does this make sense? Like he's like, well, he'll say something like, we should meet up. we should get together, this, and this. And then when I have time to, this is from one entrepreneur to another. Like, I get it. I understand when you're busy. I understand when you're a business owner. You're preaching to the choir. But then he says, when I make time, then he comes back with like, oh, well, now I have a big project that's due and I can't see you or whatever. And it's like, if we make plans and then you say that your business got in the way, you know what I mean? Like, it's just very, very convenient. Okay, and here's the other thing, okay? He's a white guy, okay? And he uses the N-word more than, the street version with the A at the end. You know what I mean? But it's like, for someone to say it with such ease, and you're talking to someone who is of black nationality.
Well, okay.
And I don't even feel comfortable using it. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. Okay, so first of all, I want to say that it felt weird for my flag to be a fan and for me to clap the fan at that because I'm not clapping the fan. It was my red flag. I need a red flag for this segment.
That's what you were trying to do? Yeah, that did not.
No, I know, because I was like cheering that on. Okay, so it's not better that he's saying the N-word to you because it's like an insult, right? Like if he was saying it to another.
But it's not like he's calling me that. It's like he's telling me like, oh, hey, I'm going to hang out with my friends and da-da-da-da. And while he's talking about his friends, he drops it, and it's like, and it comes so naturally. And that's the thing is like, I'm one of the, like, I'm all for people like expressing themselves and da-da-da-da-da-da. But when it comes to that specific word, I don't feel comfortable saying it. Like I've said it in jokes, like on stage just to make a point, but I also make the point of how ridiculously awkward I look saying it. Like, because I'm not comfortable using this word, because for me, it's stemming from a deeper place. Whereas he's like, well, I grew up with like all black friends, so I'm like allowed to say it. And I was like, what's that? What is that?
No. Okay, so that answers one of my questions, was who are his friends that he's referring to? Because if he's referring to other white guys and he's using the N-word for his friends that are white, then that's a whole different bowl of cereal.
Right.
He's referring to his black friends. Here's the thing. We should say that it's never okay for a white person to use that word, right? But if you're with your friends and they don't mind, that's between you and them. But you can't, once you leave the company of your friends, even if you're talking about them, they're just your use the word friends, because that's what you're meaning when you use the N-word to refer to your friends in that context.
And then it puts me in a weird place, because I'm like, who am I to tell him what he can and can't say? Like, we're not together, we're not dating, and da-da-da-da. And then a friend of mine was like, but it's a word that makes you feel uncomfortable, and you could say that to a stranger. Like, yo, I'm at Safeway right now. Can you not call the avocados that name, please? Like, that's rude. So I don't know. It's a weird thing, because on one hand, I feel like I'm not able or have the right to tell this man, hey, if you want to like meet me and like go on a date with me, could you not use that word, especially if maybe we meet my black mom? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't, and then on the other hand, it's like, well, I do have the right to say that, because I have the right for someone to know when they're making me uncomfortable, especially if it's someone that I'm thinking about spending, more quality time with or whatever. You know what I mean?
I think you absolutely have the right to say that, right? Because like, let's say he smoked, right? And you have...
He does! And that's another one. Gross! Like, I can't...
Okay.
Who smokes cigarettes anymore? Like, is that still a thing?
No.
Like, how is cigarettes still a thing?
No, I think he needs to go back to 1960.
I just think that cigarettes are so, like, it's like...
Like
I don't know. It's
vaping.
like using a pager or, using a rotary phone. It's like, we're still there? We're still doing that?
A rotary phone is kind of cool. Smoking and a pager kind of outdate. But here's the thing. So you have a kid, right? And smoking's not good for other people. So if he came over and he wanted to smoke around your kid, you could say, don't do that, right?
Right.
Okay, so why can't you say with the language, same thing, hey, don't do that around me or my kid?
Yeah, I guess I could. I think it's one of those things where I have to weigh it out and be like, do I want to pursue a potential relationship with someone who I have to censor to not use a very controversial word so freely?
Well,
you know, like, I don't know if I would hope that the person that I'm pursuing would already have that chromosome like built in, you know,
which
like,
chromosome
you know what I mean?
is that? Yeah. Well, okay, so here's the thing, and I can't believe I'm about to give you dating advice, give you any kind of advice, but
You can. I won't take it, but go ahead and talk.
fair enough. What a great opportunity to find out what type of guy he is. Like, you tell him it bothers you,
Right.
or you're uncomfortable with it. How does he adjust? What a good test. Because that's going to happen a lot in a real, you know, in a relationship that lasts any amount of time. There will be things that you don't like or make you uncomfortable. And if he's like, you know what, fuck you, I like sleeping with the TV on. And you're like, I like sleeping with it off. And then he'll never turn it off. That could be a problem, you know?
Right.
So this is just like, usually you want like a smaller test up front, but here he is putting it in front of you. So why not just go ahead and see what happens? Because it bothers you.
I mean,
so.
I would. This whole conversation's kind of moot because he hasn't talked to me in a week. So, but it was just a very interesting, like, process that came up. It was like, how do I feel about this? I don't know. I have never come across this before, you know? So anyway, it was interesting, you know, like, and I've said this in previous shows, like, first of all, I never thought that I would be single at 40. I never thought that would be me. You know, I did not know that. If you had told 20-year-old Chelsea that, hey, by the way, you're going to be single still when you're 40 years old, I would have thought that my future self would be at the level where it's like, oh, I'm single at 40, then fuck it. I'm going to settle for literally anything that comes along and just take whatever I can get, whatever scraps are left. I'll just say, and it's becoming clear that it's exactly the opposite. Like, I'm single at 40, which means my checklist for you to make the cut is dumb. Like, it's like, you need to have your shit together. You need to da-da-da. You need to da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. And this is like normal shit. Because I feel like as a person, I'm very low maintenance as a woman. Like, I'm like very low maintenance and I'm pretty chill, you know? So it's like, yeah, I have a lot of checklists, but it's also mainly just be a decent human, you know? Like, that checks a lot of boxes for me.
I feel like we've talked about that before, you and I know I've talked with David Shapiro about that. Like,
Yeah.
the older you get, the more, like, your field narrows, right? Like, when you're 20, you're like, I don't know, do you have a pulse? Are you mildly attractive? Have you never killed a person? Cool, let's go on a date. But when you're older, it's like, no, you need like you said, your shit together, and you need the rest of these things, because I don't want to waste my time on you.
And you also start to realize, like, how much time, like, I'm realizing now, like, it's super late, but I'm also realizing now how much I enjoy my own company. Like, it's like, I'm finding the joys in being, but maybe this is a pandemic thing. I don't know. Maybe this is a quarantine, you know, plus that I'm learning because I have to be inside. I have to be by myself, like all that stuff. But I'm finding all the joys in that. So then it's also finding the right medium of when you introduce someone new into your life, it's like, okay, how can we balance this out? Where you taking pills on the show? Are you taking pills right now? Is that what you're doing?
I took ibuprofen because I'm tired.
Oh my God. We're getting turned up in here. Ivy, it's gonna get stupid, yo. It's gonna get crazy, girl.
Naproxen.
So I don't know. It's just it's finding that happy medium of, like, becoming the strongest you that you can be, but then also leaving space in your life to allow somebody else to come in. Because that was something that I had to look at. Like, I'm incredibly independent. You know, like, I haven't had a clock-in job since 2013. You know, so it's like I've worked completely for myself since then. You know, I'm a single mom. I have this kid. I run multiple things. The amount of irons I have in the fire is ridiculous. But it's like, am I married to that? And
No.
if somebody else comes in, is there space for this person to occupy some of my time? And to be honest, there was definitely a time there where there wasn't. And that was a conscious effort that I made, because it was like, I'm scared. After my last long-term relationship, I was like, I don't know if I want another person occupying my space, you know? But I don't know. It's a fun, happy medium that you get to find and, you know, avoid all the red flags along the way.
I think there were 2.5 red flags that you mentioned.
Oh yeah, they're terrible.
Unless you weight them, and then there were 24. I think the right person, I think once the right person comes in, they will bend to fit the space that you have available, and you will bend your space available to fit more of them. So
yeah,
you don't have to worry about
there
it.
There is definitely a level to start a new relationship and to get into something that is long-term and serious. There is a level of compromise that has to be done. Mm-hmm. The danger is then realizing and being able to recognize the difference between compromising and settling, because there's a very fine line that separates those two things.
Yeah, but I don't see you settling for anything.
Well, then it seems that you know me better than I thought. Perfect.
I can't remember what we call it, the hurricane of doom. Like, you don't.
Oh shit! Is that what we? No, it was not that.
Something like that.
That sounds terrible, but I'll take it. I mean, it's fine.
It was a ferocious force of nature. I don't remember.
These are all very valid. I don't remember if those were the exact ones, but they're very valid.
We'll have to message Robbie. I think it was he that said it. Yeah, you're not a settler. Like, you don't settle. You don't settle for just take you on stage. Like, you don't settle for a like when you're doing crowd work, you dig deeper until you get to what you want.
Right.
Okay, so why would dating be any different?
I don't know. Because people think they want someone like that, and then they get them in real life, and they're like, yo, she's a lot. I mean, I get it all the time.
Yeah, but the right person will be like, oh, like Goldilocks, like, oh, she's just right.
Right, yeah. I have been compared to porridge more than once. So, yeah, I totally get that, yeah.
You said, I was thinking of, like, maybe the bed. You said porridge.
Because porridge is funnier. All right, I'm going to go talk to my friend. I love her.
Okay, I will talk to her. Thank you for being on.
Yeah, duh.
And love you too, and talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Okay, bees and booze. That was Chelsea Bearce. You can follow her. You can give her some coin. That'd be cool because we're still in a pandemic, and she works hard for her money with her 14 jobs. So help out. Also, above my pretty little head is the information for Stab Comedy Theater. Still bringing you content. Still doing it in the middle of the pandemic. Jesse, how was the Stab-tacular quarantine anniversary?
Oh, it was good. It was a lot of fun. A lot of good people coming in and celebrating the stuff that we made work over this time when we had to.
That's great. Yeah, and all the content you bring to people is if you're here 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And there's so many different shows. Chelsea has a show on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
It's Drawing a Blank.
Mm-hmm.
I said it right. She's not smiling, but inside I know she is because I remember that. And it's Pictionary with comics. So check it out here Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Check out the rest of the programming from Stab Comedy Theater because it's great. Okay, and with that, we'll get to my interview guest, who I failed to write an intro for, so I'm just going to make one up on the fly. She also is a hurricane of ferocious nature. She works... What? Oh, I thought you said something. I was going to say it. Okay. She's amazing. She has been doing stand-up comedy. She's out there right now safely, keeping her 6 feet of distance. But go check her out in a show because she's one of the most funny people and one of the most honest people I've ever seen on stage. Please peers and queers. Welcome to the show, Aivy Cordova.
Hi.
Hi.
Suzette, good to see you again. It's been a minute.
It
Good to
has
catch
been a
up.
minute. When was the last time I saw you?
Shit, man. Was it, God, I want to say, was it Cobb's? That was a while ago.
No, you did my show at Punchline.
The drag one. Oh, was it the one where I brought my mom, or was it a different one? Oh, wait, no. My mom went to the one in Sac, and I did the one with I think Sergio was there too.
Okay, then Sac was the last time I saw you in person.
Okay, with my mom. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah, it's been a while.
Oh my God, it has been a while. Well, hello.
Hi.
If there wasn't a pandemic, I feel like I would have seen you more recently. What have you been up to during the pandemic?
So during the pandemic, like I have been, I was already working from home like several days a week because I work in tech, and so typically Monday, Friday we don't go in the office. So it was just like moving all my activities that I would normally do during the work day or the work week to my house. So I tried to stay consistent. I've been doing Barry's boot camp, not for like weight loss or anything. It's really like more for my mental health because of the endorphins and all that kind of stuff. And I've been making sure my kid gets through Zoom school. I've actually been quarantined with my entire family. So, getting to hang out with my parents and get to know them again as like adults, because I haven't lived with them since I was in my 20s. And so it's been really weird, like getting up in the morning to go to work at the kitchen table. And then I'm passing my parents like passed out on the couch. I'm like, is this what it was like when I was 24, came home from college and didn't have a job? Like, it feels like the roles have reversed, but it's been fun. It's been fun. I joke about it in my set now, but like, it's not as traumatic as I make it sound.
But so that's a lesson, and I don't know who watches the show. Sometimes I like to point out lessons that comics that aren't as maybe experienced as you could learn, and I think a lot of people are going to come with pandemic jokes, right? But
Yeah.
That's an interesting one because now you're living with your parents again, which not everybody is. So not everyone's going to have that joke. So that's a great way to have your own joke about the thing that everyone's going to joke about.
Absolutely, because every last person has a joke about, man, I'm so horny, man, I haven't shaved my legs, or I need a haircut, like, all this kind of stuff. Like, a lot of the stuff has been sort of like done to death. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was approaching this, I was like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person in the world that's been quarantined with their family or family members in closer quarters than I'm used to, but how can I make this sort of true to me? And so I kind of just waited before I actually wrote any jokes. I kind of just waited until stuff started happening, and then I would just be like, that'll be fun to tell people about. And it just happened like super organically, which it's sort of consistent too with the way that I write jokes. It's like I don't actually sit and write and make up something from the beginning. It's more like, okay, something funny happens. How can I make it so that so I can differentiate this from telling my friends a funny story versus telling this to a room of strangers that don't know me from the next person? And how can I make that stand-up friendly? So that's what I've been doing, really. And I'm also in law school.
Oh, you're in law school.
Mm-hmm.
What year?
So not law school as in like getting my JD. I'm getting a master's in legal studies, but it's under the School of Law. Okay. So I've got about another. I'm doing the master in legal studies, so I've gotten to about 10. It's about week 10 now, and so I've got 6 more weeks of this semester, and then I've got about a year left.
That's not an LLM? What is that? No.
LLM, I think, is for people that have a JD but from another country. The Master of Legal Studies is essentially like I would be helping attorneys. I would be helping people that are actually going to litigate as opposed to doing it myself. Like I don't know necessarily that I want to be an attorney. I do know that I enjoy like things like contracts and the boring background stuff, and I think that all of that stems from my background in sales operations and people just having all these contracts and having to look for things and making sure people get paid and things of that nature. I was like, why not take it a step further? And the main reason I did this too was because I was originally just going to get a certificate, but then when I saw that the master's degree was only like another 6 months, I was like, fuck it. It's not like club comedy and touring is going to come back full speed for at least another couple of years. So I figured I might as well do something productive.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, oh, speaking of boring business jobs, Chance from Square Trade says hi.
Chance, I love him. Oh my god, I think he was. I want to say he was like a shift manager, because I remember he worked above me. I don't even really know if he was like a shift manager or a QA, but he was super cool, super nice. I was there for probably less than 2 years. And we had the most interesting job in the world, which was, I think we bonded over like how traumatic some of it was. But yeah, like, how do you know Chance?
Oh, he's in Sacramento. He comes to a lot of shows. He's on the court. So he was at brunch today, and he was like, "Oh, you have Ivy on your show tonight," and I was like, "Yes, you know her." And then he told me you guys worked at Square Trade.
Yeah.
So
the good old Square Trade days. I still talk to like a handful of people from my Square Trade days. I think like with pretty much every job I have, like I'm in touch with most of the people that I work with directly, aside from maybe the job that I had like 2 jobs ago. Square Trade was fun though, because a lot of the people were always, down to go have a drink after work, or, during the time that I was working there, it was like a traumatic time for me in my personal life. So coming to work was actually a pleasure to be around like people whose company I enjoyed, and, good folks.
So
Chance!
So I think he's watching, so you can say hi. So you approach doing comedy differently than Chelsea. Chelsea has a bunch of jobs that and I'm saying this as someone who does the same, she just cobbles together a bunch of jobs where she's her own kind of boss and she's making her own schedule. You have a job with a schedule that you go to, or you went to. How do you feel that works for you as a comedian?
I mean, I've always known like my entire life that I was going to do something creative, but I also knew, because I was raised by parents that worked in Silicon Valley for years, that I was already accustomed to like a certain standard of living and stuff like that. And so, I've had the days too where I've had like a million jobs. And I think, just the older I got, I was like, anything that I do that's not related to comedy or art is going to be strictly a survival job. And it just so happened that as I got older, the jobs got bigger and easier, because when I was younger, I did everything. Like I worked at Old Navy, I worked at all the bars and nightclubs in San Francisco, probably places that people, places that people had like, they had like Asian night, or they had like gay night, just different. This is in the early 2000s. So that's what I was doing. I worked at the Exploratorium and all sorts of jobs. And then when I got older, my dad actually coached me through my career of working in tech, because I had no intention of doing that like ever. I thought, okay, I'm just going to work survival jobs. But my dad was just like, you know what, like, give this a shot. Like, you might actually be good at it. And to be honest, I don't give a fuck if I'm good at it or not, because again, it's just a survival job. But because I've had the advantage of being coached by my father, I've managed to have a fairly successful tech career for the last like 16 years. And the best part about it is, it gives me a really good amount of freedom and flexibility, which I need to be able to take care of my family, to be able to do comedy, to not have to be like, okay, well, can you cover my shift and blah, blah, blah. Because I've done that before in the past, and I don't think I'm cut out for that kind of life. I don't think I'm cut out for anything where I actually have to punch a clock or tell people like, hey, I have to account for this hour, I have to be at my desk by a certain hour. To be honest with you, after Square Trade, I was just like, I refuse. Like, I'm not doing that again. If I have to tell one more person that I was taking a shit during the time where I was supposed to be sitting at my desk, I'm just going to start selling toe pictures. You know what I mean? I'm just like, there's certain things that I'm just not willing to do anymore. And fortunately, like, tech has allowed me the freedom to be able to pursue the life that I actually want without actually being super committed to loving tech.
I think that pooping on the clock should be allowed at jobs. I don't think you should have to account for that.
Oh, for sure.
I think if you have to poop and you're at work, you should just get to like flip the sign on your desk that says like, be back in however long.
One of my jobs, I had a 22-year-old manager. Like, he wasn't like my one-up per se, but he was supervising like this, I think a specific like first or second shift of people. And there was one time where he messaged me and he says, Ivy, so there's like 7 minutes here that are just unaccounted for. And I'm just like, you can tell them I was taking a shit. And he's like, no, Ivy, there's this form that I was like, I don't give a fuck about the form. You can tell them that I was taking a shit, because if you don't tell them, I'm going to tell them myself. And I don't know what he wrote, but nobody talked to me about my hours after that. I was just like, look, I'm not doing this. And at that point I knew, like, I can't do this. I can't, like, I'm not going to listen. Like, what the fuck do I have to gain by listening to, like, why do I have a manager that graduated from UC Davis with a fucking liberal arts degree? Like, what the fuck do you know about managerial shit and regular life? Like, you can tell them I'm taking this shit, or I can tell them myself. So it was clearly a more difficult time in my life.
Well, yeah, I think it sounds like he made it a difficult time in your life, because who fills out a form so they can take a shit? Like,
What's that? Sorry.
Oh, I said who has to fill out a form so they can take a shit? Like,
right. It was one of those, like, it was a kind of job, almost like borderline call center-ish. You know, not really. They were trying to say, oh, we're not a call center. Like, bullshit. This is a fucking call center. And we had to account for being at our desk at hours. They had to tell us when to take a break. It reminded me of, like, my early days working at Old Navy, where you'd have to go to somebody, I'm here for my 15. Like, fuck you. After a certain point, I was like, I'm never doing that kind of job ever again. So ever since then, I've worked in, I think that was the one time I had a job where, you know, I had to actually answer to somebody. And so for the rest of my other jobs, of course I have a boss, but, you know, when you work in sales operations and you get to a certain point, you know, all the jobs that I've had since have always been, like, super, you know, I've had flexibility, I've had autonomy. My main thing in interviews, I started being completely honest about this. They're just like, what do you look for in a manager? I look for somebody that isn't going to breathe down my fucking neck, because if you're on my shit, then why was I hired? Like, if you have your specific way of doing this and you're, like, micromanaging me, like, this is not going to work. Like, that's one thing that almost every boss that has been the boss of Aivy Cordova over my 16-year career, that's probably the one thing that they have in common. Is just like, please know that you're my boss, but you're not really going to tell me what to do. Okay, you're not really going to tell me how to do my job, and if we have a problem with this, then I could just leave. And that's happened at exactly one job, because all the other people got it. Like, it's just like, I'm willing to do my job. It's just, don't breathe down my neck. Like, why? And I think this is something that I learned from my dad. Like, a lot of my corporate persona is based on WWDD. What would dad do? And, you know, my dad managed to be worked in Silicon Valley for like 30 years, and he was usually the one brown guy that was an executive at the table with a bunch of, like, old white faces. So for me, he knew that, like, both me and my sister work in tech. He was like, you guys are disadvantaged in the sense that you're women and you're women of color. So this is what you need to do to be able to do this job, to deal with, like, politics in the office. And he was like, and he pointed at me, he was like, Ivy, in your case, this is what you do to not get arrested or in a fist fight. I was just like, okay.
So,
and, you know, mainly, like, just the best part of having a tech job is just the health insurance. It's really for Jacob more than me. I mean, if I didn't have a son, I would probably be working at a bar somewhere. And, you know, I'm not putting that job down, because it's an awesome job. It's just, you know, once you have kids, certain needs change. So I'm just like, okay, well, this will be easy. Let's just simplify my life.
Sure. Your dad's giving you advice that's working in the tech industry today. So is he kind of just a savant at the tech industry and giving you advice that is timeless? Or are you taking advice that he had a 30-year career, so he was working approximately 35 years ago? So are you taking advice that was suitable for 1995?
It's evolved. Like my dad's advice has evolved as technology. One of the most important things that he told me was, you know, when you work in technology, as technology changes, business needs also change. So don't get comfortable. You have to learn how to adapt. And he was just like, the days of people working for the same company for fucking 25 years are over. You know what I mean? Well, there's probably people that still do that. Good for them. He's like, you do something different. He's just like, if anything, the longest time you should spend at any company is maybe 5 or 6 years. Because at that point, you know, then what are you doing? Like, unless you're super comfortable, which, you know, maybe that works for some people. But I think as I evolve, like, and as the types of jobs that are available to me get better and better, like I should chase after that. But of course, I'm also hoping too that I don't have to work a regular tech job for the rest of my life. I mean, I would like comedy to be the end game. That being said, I know that if comedy didn't work out, I would still probably survive. It would probably be a lot less fun, but I'd have something to do with my life.
So you've been working during the pandemic, and you've been doing comedy live lately. Did you do much virtual?
Sorry, what?
Did you do much virtual comedy?
Yeah. I personally did not want to be one of those people that was like, yo, I need comedy, man. I'll just go to the park. Like, that's cool for people that don't get booked. But for me, like, I'm saying, like, I'm just like, I know I have options. I can afford to be selective. And for me, like, I'm not out here saying that Zoom is the future of comedy. Like, none of us fucking think that. We know this. But, if you're resourceful, you can use it as a sort of a networking tool. Because for me, like, I used to travel a lot between San Francisco and LA for comedy all the fucking time. And the cool thing about doing something like Zoom is that you can work with people in LA without leaving the house. You can work with people in other countries. Like just this year, I did my first New York and Canadian shows, which was super fun. So, I mean, of course, there's nothing like a live show. But I mean, if the person that's putting on the virtual show has credibility, I will take that over some random sidewalk shit any day.
Do you think that there's a place for virtual comedy after the pandemic is over?
Absolutely. Like, I think one of my favorite things about certain Zoom shows is I'm actually more of a fan of the unconventional comedy types of shows. So the stuff like that Chelsea does, which is, one of my favorites is Who Wrote This Shit? Like, any day that I get booked for that show is a fucking good day. There's also Prompt Night. I like Blabbermouth, which is Phil Griffiths and Red Scott, like just really good creative shows that force you, not force you, but they sort of challenge you to think fast and on your feet and things like that. And I like, honestly, like even if live comedy comes back, I think that there's an audience for these types of shows, and I think people really get a lot out of them, more than we realize, because as much as we'd like to be out there making people laugh, there's also people at home that are probably been stuck with their kids, their husbands. They need an outlet. They just want to laugh. And, what better to have them be able to turn on a computer? Because some people, maybe they don't have childcare. Maybe, like me, like maybe they have, one kid and they can't take that kid. Like they can't get out of the house or anything like that. So just knowing that people have other options for entertainment aside from going out of the house, I think these things are going to continue, and I hope they do.
What don't you like about it? What don't you like about virtual comedy?
No, I mean, I like a lot of things about virtual comedy. I think maybe the one thing I don't like is, when you're doing a more traditional stand-up show, like the one I run, and I love my little show. Like we've been working on it since I want to say like November-ish. But the challenge for a show like that is when you're actually when you're trying to do crowd work on Zoom and people don't have their cameras on or they're on mute. Just like you look at the audience, you're like, any parents in the house, make some fucking noise, yeah? Oh
no, yeah, that.
Yeah. It's weird. Like I think, but aside from that, like I think at its best, it's like a solid hang, especially if the other people on the lineup, the producers, like if I'm working on a show with like my friends, that's like a fucking awesome show. And then at its worst, it just feels like you're trying to make a bunch of strangers laugh during a corporate work meeting is what it feels like when you're doing like Microsoft like Teams or Zoom or some shit. That's probably the one thing I don't like about virtual shows is the fact that, crowd work doesn't work. I mean, I'm not a crowd work person myself, really, but like I can see how people that thrive on doing crowd work would have trouble with it. It's a completely different medium.
Well, and that's the thing. This is the 48th episode, and we've talked a lot about that. You have to adjust for the medium. So, like you said, Chelsea's doing some really cool stuff. Blabbermouth is cool. Did you mention one other one?
Prompt Night.
Prompt Night. Thank you. I haven't seen Prompt Night, but I've seen like good people on it, so it must be a good show. But those these are created for the medium that is currently available to us. It's, you know, and your show, like you said, it's a fun hang, and it's your show, so I'm sure it's good. But this isn't live comedy. This isn't a person in front of a crowd. So do something different if you can to adjust for the medium that is available.
Yeah, and I think the people that like there's people whose shows have who are running live shows, and those shows that changed to the Zoom adaptation were also really good. Like probably one of my other favorite ones is Nightlife on Mars, because I knew they had a live show. I'd never actually done the live show, but I always sort of kept up with it because, you know, I really am a huge fan of the producers, and just the caliber of the people they've had on the show is fantastic. So when they moved it to Zoom, I was like, okay, how's this going to work? And it was actually really, really super fun. And so again, that's another show that I look forward to. It's another show that I have a list of shows that it's like, when I get booked for these, it's a good day.
Yeah, well, and you are good, so you can be selective. I just did a show where we watched movie clips and then kind of just riffed on how bad they were. So that was a lot of fun.
That sounds super fun.
Yeah.
I love watching movies. That's one of the things that there's a handful of us that we Zoom at night, and sometimes we'll share movie clips, or we'll just look at, you know, whoever is starring in a series or things like that. I also just really like quoting movies with people. That would be super fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's something that people have always done. So that could be a show that you could make happen. You mentioned that you're a mom. You mentioned your son. How do you balance? And we just had Chelsea, and Chelsea talks a lot about balancing her life with being a comedian. How do you balance being a mom and a comic?
So, you know, obviously there's certain things that have to come first. As long as my son is, if he's good, I feel a lot less guilty about leaving the house. It was easier. It's actually gotten a lot easier now that he's older, and my son's a teenager, so he's 13, and he's getting to the stage where he wants less and less to do with either of his parents. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll see you when I get back. So I actually started in comedy in 2006, and I quit in 2009 when my son was less than a year old, because I didn't know if I could balance any of that. And at that point, I just walked away from comedy. I thought, okay, maybe I'm just not that good at it. And then when I came back to comedy, that was when I really, in 2016, that was when I really had to start figuring out a balance. I didn't want to leave my son home 5 days a week. I had to be really strategic about the way that I scheduled going to open mics. And so because I work in SF, I would see, okay, well, what mics are around me? And so I was already there, and then I wouldn't be super late coming home. And then as he got older and I started traveling more for work, I would feel more comfortable looking for stage time or mics in LA, because I was already away on business and coming back, so it wouldn't interrupt a lot of my time with him. It's also, so his dad actually doesn't live too far from where we live. We actually all used to live across the street from each other. And so as I progressed more in comedy, you know, once the people in my life realized that it was not just a hobby, and in fact this was essentially me having a second job, everybody adjusted. We're just okay, well, what days are you not going to be available for Jake? What days can you pick him up, and blah blah blah. And occasionally I've had to take Jacob to shows with me. You know, one of the things that I had to make my peace with when I was trying to figure out how to balance being a mom with comedy is that, you know, sometimes things are just not going to work out the way that you want them to, and, you know, don't get stressed about it. There's always another alternative. There's always another day. There's always another show. Certain things got to come first. So that being said, Jacob has come on the road with me to quite a few shows.
What?
And I always make him put on headphones during my set because I'm a good mother. And
But not during anyone else's.
What's that?
But not during other people's sets?
Oh, yeah, no, I could give a fuck what they talk about. But, yeah, Jacob, no. My set, headphones on.
So
you're muffin for mommy. Just...
What is he like? Does he like going to comedy shows, or is it just kind of like going to work with mom?
It's whatever to him. I mean, I've taken him to almost every work situation that I've ever been in ever since he was born. So he's been to all my companies that I've worked at. He's gone to Square Trade. He's gone to all that kind of stuff. So Jacob knows how to conduct himself in different environments, because I'm just sometimes I just don't have a choice. I have to bring him with me. Parents aren't home. His dad's on set because his dad works in film and television. So, you know, everybody has like a different type of schedule that we all have to work around. And so I think the shows that Jacob likes the most are the ones where he gets food. One of my favorite shows that he's done, or that I've done, is it was Belly in North Bay, so like Santa Rosa. And the best part about that for Jacob is that every time I was booked for that show, the booker at the time, Kayla Keller, close friend of mine, she would hit me up and be like, "Is Jacob coming with you?" "Yes." "What does he want on his pizza?" And then there would be a pizza ready. And I remember one time Jacob yelled, like when she asked what he wanted to eat, and Jacob was like, "Pork belly." I was like, "There's no fucking way." Bitch, when we got there were 2 pizzas with pork belly and like all these fixing on. They were so good. It was easily probably something that would have been $24 if I had to pay for it. And it was so ridiculously good. And Jacob was probably 2.5 slices deep. And I told Jacob, look, if you don't leave some for the headliner, who was Butch Escobar, I was like, if you don't leave some for the headliner, like, we are both going to be in major trouble. Like, so slow your roll. So Jacob likes shows like that, you know, where he can just kind of do his thing. I've generally just really brought him around, like, you know, people I trust. Like, I'm not going to bring him to some, like, fucking open mic. But, you know, I'll bring him on, like, on the road with me. I'll bring him to places where it's kid-friendly and he can just hang out, and then we can go to dinner afterwards. Like, yeah. Jacob, you know, one of the things I had to make clear to Jacob ever since he was a little kid was, like, I'm always going to work. Like, okay, like, I'm not always going to be home. So you need to understand that this is what I do for work. And so Jacob, that's how he can differentiate, you know, and mommy's not out having fun without me. I mean, it's fun, but it's also still my job. So,
yeah, I think that's what a great role model, you know, because really, truly, like you and like Chelsea too, like are both moms that are working, and you're not putting work before your kid. You're putting work where you can, and your kid is along for the ride because that's how it is. You're not sacrificing yourself, and you're not sacrificing your kids' time. You're just kind of making it all work. So that's amazing, first of all. Secondly, I agree with Jacob that that's the best kind of show to be booked on. I don't get booked ever by anybody, but if I did, and they were like, "Do you want pizza?" Hopefully not instead of pay, but if they were like, "Do you want pizza also?" I'd be like, "Yes." Getting booked is amazing. So he has good taste, no pun intended, on getting booked when there's pizza.
Exactly. Jacob, I think one of the other favorite places was when I had this brewery show, because brewery shows are great to bring kids to because they're typically like places where people bring their kids or they bring dogs. I'm like, well, if there's a fucking dog here, I should be able to bring my son. And then it was in Santa Cruz, and the best part about it, it was about 10 minutes down the road from this legendary ice cream place called Mary Ann's. So I got to show him all my Santa Cruz favorites like all in one day.
Oh, that's cool. What was I going to say? I've never met Butch Escobar, but I like him because of something that happened on Sacked. Do you know Sacked, right?
It's basically like the Sacramento Bacon.
Yeah. So for anyone that's not a comedian that's watching the show, it's like the secret Sacramento comedian Facebook group, and I liked something that he did on there, and I won't get into it, but I thought, like, what a cool guy. There was something else I was going to say. Oh, I don't know if I should be offended or not, because you said you bring Jacob to shows that you trust the people, and you've never brought him to... I've had you in 2 of my shows. You didn't bring him to either of my shows, but you did bring your mom. So
I brought my mom because I know that there's an age limit. Now, if there was no age limit to your shows, I will bring Jake.
Well, I mean, if you're in the show, I don't think... Right? That wouldn't matter. Like, you could bring him to Punchline, right?
I wasn't sure if that was allowed because Jacob's 13.
Oh.
So, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't know what the club rules are. I don't want to break any rules.
Sure.
But, I mean, if you do a show that's, like, unaffiliated with a club, it's not 18 or above, I'll bring Jacob. Like, absolutely.
Okay, we'll make that happen.
Yeah.
And I think...
And my mom wants to go to drag brunch, too, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, do you guys want to come to ours?
Yes! Let's do this!
Oh, Chelsea's in. Okay, come.
Chelsea, me, the kids. Let's do it.
Let's do it, and your mom could come. Right now, it's not all ages. So, unfortunately, Jake couldn't come because of COVID. Like, we have this agreement with the city, and we're working out of a bar.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's stupid, right? Because like bars are restaurants right now. So just let kids come and they're like have them wear a wristband or something. But we'll figure it out. But
yeah, Jacob would be down. Jacob's though, he's like tall though. He's tall to the point where we were running errands in San Jose and we stopped by a salon to say hi to one of my homegirls, and the girl that was working at the desk thought that Jacob was my boyfriend. We looked at each other like, like,
yeah.
Okay, you've only seen my pussy once, and that's the only time you'll ever see it. Like, you're my son. That's fucking gross. Like, seriously, like, come on. Like, I know I like younger men, but this is too much. There's no fucking way. And we looked at each other in the car. We're just like, ugh.
well, I mean,
all right, let's go get tacos. Like, that was my relation. That's my relationship with Jacob. We run errands and we talk shit.
oh, so you guys are judgy.
What's that?
You're judgy about people.
Yes.
Yes, that's the best way to be.
We run errands and we talk shit.
Yes, that I judge everything and all the and people are like, "Are you judging that?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah." Are they there? Did they put themselves out in public? Then they want to be judged. Okay, so like I mentioned, you're also a hurricane force of nature in life. Where I see that is online. You have zero tolerance for bullies, zero tolerance for stupidity, zero tolerance for idiots online. People with smart mouths, like, so, but you also have a son who's 13.
Yeah.
Everything, his life is online, right? So do you ever catch him doing something online that you're like, don't do that, and then you're doing the same thing?
For me, I think I'm a little bit more careful with this. Like, so for me, like, I don't tolerate him, you know, and I check his phone all the time. I check, like, I had to create a Finsta or like a fake Instagram or fake account on TikTok because he blocked both me and his stepmom and his dad. So we made another account so we could spy on him just to make sure he's not like talking shit. Or the main thing I'm concerned about is like, don't be out here saying racial slurs or any of that stuff, because if you put that on the internet now, it's like, it's permanent. You know, like, I don't want you to get canceled like in 10, 15 years for some dumb shit that you wrote when you were 12. You know what I mean? And so one of the things I told him too is just like, look, it's as tempting as it is to respond and to engage in real time. One of the things that I remind him, and I also remind myself every so often too, it's like, before I type something, because I get tempted a lot, and I'm just like, would you feel comfortable with yourself if somebody were to screenshot this and show it in public? And so for me, that informs most of what I end up typing, except for the one time the other night where Chelsea actually asked she commented on one of my flyers about a show, and there was another comic that was fighting over the name of that show, and she was like, "Oh, isn't this her show?" And I wrote, without even thinking about this, because I forgot this was on my own timeline. I literally wrote, "I will suck dick in front of my family before I ever ask that bitch for stage time." And when I saw the comments in the morning, I was like, you know what? I could have worded this better, but I'm gonna stand by it. I own it. If this gets screenshot and sent to another person, I own it. Like, if this person wants to come up in my face, Ivy, you'd really suck dick in front of your family before you ask me for stage time? Yes, bitch, because I hate you. Like, that's it. Like, so that's the same kind of principle. I'm like, Jacob, whatever you do, own it. But also try not to do something that's going to get you, like, excommunicated from school or the internet, or, you know, I don't want to have to go into fucking witness protection. And I've got a comedy career, so think about me before you talk shit on TikTok. That's really what it is.
So I really like that phrase. First of all, I want to go back to that phrase. I would not only would I wear that on a T-shirt, I would also say that and then quote you, but I would say it and mean it about certain shows. Not that I'm getting booked anyway, but like, if the wrong person wanted to book me, I would suck dick in front of my family before I took a booking from someone I hated.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like I've said different variations of that sentence about the same person. Like, I'll suck dick in front of my family. I'll make a televised speech about my abortions. I'll give a lap dance to somebody at the RNC. Plenty of things I would do before I ever ask this person for stage time. maybe only a couple of people that I actually feel that way about, but this is a doozy. So
I love it because people use hyperbole a lot, but I don't believe that this is hyperbole. I think this is really how you feel. You're just like, fuck that person. And here's the thing. So a lot of the time, I'll want to relate to my guest and tell them a story. Like something came up when I was talking to Chelsea, and I was like, oh, I need to remember to tell her about that later. But it's boring for the audience because they're not in on the inside joke or whatever. This is different. This is you don't want to name the person here, which is fine, but I need to message you later because now I'm fucking curious.
Oh, for sure. I got you.
Yeah. Do I too want to suck dick in front of my family before getting booked by this person, or would I get booked by this person? I need to know. Okay. Yeah, think about that merch because that's I don't know. Oh, yeah. I would suck dick in front of everyone's family. Sorry,
Seriously?
I just saw it. I got a message.
No.
Yeah, not from you. I would do.
Oh, that felt good.
I would do a lot of things. Oh my god. People would be like, "Oh shit, she's a skanky slut." Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Including wear open toe heels with closed toe leggings. I would do that too. I know that doesn't seem egregious to people, but to me, I would never. I just couldn't. So I'd suck dick in closed-toed leggings and open-toed heels. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Where were we? I'm sorry. I saw the name and I lost my train of thought. Okay, you're a mom. So what if Jake did write that? What if he wrote like, I'd suck dick in front of my family before I took that teacher's class?
I'd be like, well, first of all, which teacher? I feel like, I mean, there's certain things I'm just like, you know what? This is probably not appropriate for somebody that's 12, and I'd have to probably have a conversation with him about that kind of stuff. And, especially, I think the conversation would be about, like, consequences and things like that. And I think, sorry, why is this going off right now? So, if Jacob wrote that, we'd probably have to have a really serious talk about not boundaries, but about whether something is appropriate, or does this teacher really warrant you saying some shit like this? Like, you're in middle school, your work literally takes 30 seconds to complete. Like, just suck it up, man.
I love that you. I love that you made it real about middle school. You're like, it's not your. It's really easy work. Like,
yeah,
it's
like, and I told him, and he was having trouble with like Zoom, because one of the things I noticed, and I peeked into his room, was he had actually put a Zoom on it was a picture on Zoom of him where it looks like he's paying attention, but it's basically a picture when he has his camera off, and he was like scrolling through his phone, and I banged on his door. I was like, yo, like, are you my fucking coworker? Like, this is middle school. You need to pay attention. Like, give me your fucking phone. So that's how we got through maybe the first couple of months of him getting used to Zoom school.
Are you a little bit impressed though? Because
he definitely had to learn like better habits about, how to be on the internet and things like that. And, so far, like, the only real crazy thing that's happened was, I feel like I've told you this, but like, there's one crazy thing that happened on TikTok where he wrote I don't even know if he wrote it. He just had a video of him with, he had a video of him with the joke in print superimposed on the video. And it was kind of a funny joke, but it was just also sort of insensitive for it was a joke about Hitler. And the historical context was, that was like spot on. At the same time, I was like, I don't know if this is responsible for you to be putting this on TikTok. But he was with his dad that weekend, and I also just didn't feel like having that conversation. So instead of talking to him about it, I just reported the video. It was just like, I don't want to deal with this right now. And I talked to him about it at some point, but like that weekend, I was just like, you know what? Let's just be a hater. Let me just Karen my own son. I mean,
okay, that's not Karening you, because you can report videos that are offensive to you, and if that was offensive to you, you're like any other you. Was this under your Finsta or was this under you?
This was under like my, because he blocked me, his stepmom, and his dad from his regular TikTok account. So we all made fake accounts so that we could just spy on him periodically and make sure that the shit he was posting wasn't like totally inappropriate or that he wasn't talking shit.
What was your fake account? Like what? Because I've never. So this might surprise you, but I've never pretended to be a person that I'm not.
Yeah.
What was your fake? What was your fake account?
My fake account, I mean, on TikTok, I'm just Aivy Cordova. My fake account, it's like Mom Dukes or some shit. And then the only thing that it says in the bio is, I spy on my kids so that you don't have to.
And
like, I don't use it for anything except explicitly. Like, I really don't use it for anything. I don't have any pictures. I don't have any videos. The only reason why it exists is so I can spy on my son and make sure that he's either not talking shit or he's not getting groomed by some perv in a van.
Wait, so it said I spy on your kids so you don't have to. That's what the bio.
Yeah.
And he accepted it.
Nope, it's not. His shit is public. That's the thing. It's like I wouldn't be able to view it under mine, even though it's public, because he blocked me and his stepmom. But when I look at it from another public account, I can totally see all his shit. So that's why.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I don't
Teenagers, man. Am I right?
I think so. I don't know. I'm childless. I have a dog. He's 7, so I don't think I'll ever be a mom. But I do know that teenagers suck. Sometime, in like 7 to 12 years, when his frontal lobe is fully formed, you guys will have a great relationship. Yeah.
For sure.
Because I look back at my life and I'm like, oh, girl, the decisions you made before you were 25. Woof. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Still distracted. Okay. So you are very open with your life online.
Yeah.
What is that like?
So I'm actually surprised that that's the perception because, I feel like I'm fairly open to a certain degree, but there's also like things I don't talk about. Like I don't talk about my relationships. I don't talk about when I'm going, like, I don't necessarily talk about my breakup. Like I have alluded to it in certain posts, but like, for me, the whole point of social media is to not necessarily let people know how I'm feeling, just to let people know, hey, these are my shows and this is what's going on. I feel like the fact that it's perceived as open is kind of surprising to me because there's also for all that I do talk about, there's so much more that I don't talk about. And that's the stuff that I keep for myself or for Jake or for my Zoom where I'm talking shit with my friends, like that kind of stuff. Like you are almost never going to catch me talking about anything truly, truly personal. And I think the way that I don't want to say I've mastered social media, but I think I can make the most impersonal posts sound personal so people think it's like a really open look into my life. But it's really just like scratching the surface. Like there's so much more about my life and so much more to me that's not accessible to a lot of people.
Sure, but it's relative, right? So like if most people aren't sharing anything and you're sharing, 15%, that's still more personal than some people. And like you said, it's really for where your shows are and when they're going to be. I don't know if I would be on social media if I wasn't a performer. So it's, I think you're probably doing more than most people. What do you get feedback for you're going to a law school. So for the sake of the rest of this questioning, we're going to define as what you do as being open, even if you feel it's not. So do you feel like being open on Facebook is like, what kind of feedback do you get from being open from other people?
Okay, so people that know me know that it's again compared to what they know, it's probably not super open. Sometimes it's been really cool in the sense that other comics or people that I'm connected to will reach out and ask me something. Not about my own personal stuff, but they'll ask for advice, or they'll ask because they know that about my volunteer work as a sex educator, for example, they'll ask something related to that because because I guess they get the feeling that because I'm so open online, whatever, I'm not going to judge them. And, 90% of the time it's true. I'm not going to really judge them for, coming to me in confidence, so on one hand, I feel like to some degree people view me as approachable, which is kind of cool, I'm not trying to put up this wall here that people should just absolutely not talk to me, but I'm also not super really accessible either, but the fact that people feel comfortable enough to approach me, and they're respectful about it feels pretty cool.
I love how 20 minutes ago you were like, yeah, me and Jake, we judge everybody. We do run errands and we judge people. And now you're like, yeah, I don't judge people.
We judge strangers. I don't judge people that come to me and talk about some personal shit.
Okay, that's fair.
If there's a person out there where I can see their fucking hair extension track, I'm gonna laugh at that shit. If I see another person chasing another person down the street holding their own prosthetic leg, I should be able to give a little side eye. But if somebody's coming to me sort of in confidence saying, I mean, you posted about this, and I've got this dude that can't get it up. I'm not going to judge them for coming to me because,
sure.
I mean, just to even type that sentence is a lot,
No. I was just teasing. Also, I feel like there will be a lot of judging when you and your mom and Chelsea come to my brunch, which is fine because I'm a performer and I can take it. Also, everyone that's in the show with me loves to participate in reading me, so you guys will just have a blast and I'll just be there.
It'll be fun. I can't wait.
We did a whole thing where Jesse came to the bar to Badlands, and we did a live show when Chelsea came, and I thought it was just going to be like this, like I didn't know what I think it was going to be. It turned into just open reading on me, which is fine because I think that it takes friends to love you like that. I feel like if anything, that's super valid. From I would probably be able to stand getting either roasted or dragged with love by my own friends, because they know me and they can say shit like that, as opposed to some random open micer calling me a hoe. Like, no, I'm gonna pop you in the mouth. Like, watch yourself. Like, know your place. Yeah, for sure.
It's another thing for my own friends to say shit, but it's just, if it's somebody I don't even know based on what they saw me perform, like, that's fucked up. Like, just stop.
I don't know. I get it from strangers too. It's more meaningful when my friends come and have critiques, because then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna work on that. Thank you. So please, when you come, judge freely. I welcome it and appreciate it, actually. But that being said, you said you're going to pop somebody in the mouth if it's an open mic or watching you and they have a critique. Have you been in a fight with another comedian, like a physical one?
Not yet.
Oh, I like that. What about the person that you would suck dick in front of your family? Would you fight that person?
I would absolutely fight that person.
Okay, yeah. I will help. I'll help you.
I think there would be. You know what though? I feel like there would be a long line of people that would be fun. I would have to like give wristbands. Okay, first 10 people, you guys can help me.
They have the thing at the deli, at the grocery store, where it's like you got to pull a number, and they're like J15.
Pick your number and we'll
yeah,
make this bitch
and you're
together.
like, fuck, I'm J36. Like I'm gonna be here all day waiting for this. Okay, so do you feel like being open online helps or hurts you as a comedian? And really quick, I want to say these questions. I had some help from Chelsea, so writing credit to her for some of these excellent
somebody
questions.
that knows me.
Yeah, well, and they're good questions too. And I think I had some good questions, but I just wanted to give credit where credit is due, because I'm just a stupid looking blonde. So sometimes things are hard for me. So do you feel like being open with your life online helps or hurts you as a comedian?
Because it's okay. If we're talking about the internet, I think it's helped, because I feel like the image that I portray on my public social media is it's as open as it seems. It's also like in a way very controlled, because I'm controlling how other people view me. And I was also advised by another comedian who I really, really respect, Phil Woods. Like, we're talking about social media, and he was just like, the only thing that people need to know when they see your social media is when your shows are, where they're at, and occasionally something that reminds them that you're like a regular person. Like, they don't need to know how you're feeling, what kind of day you're having, like none of that shit. Like, you can talk shit to your close friends. You got your close friends for that. Social media is just for, it's super curated. So I feel like it's been helpful to me personally, because it shows people that it's definitely helped me, because I think people, when bookers are looking through social media or whatever the fuck they do, when they see my social media, they don't see me taking a bunch of selfies and just whatever. They see somebody hopefully it's my hope that when they look at my social media, they see somebody that works hard and gets along with people. And I think that's been helpful to me tremendously, because, you know, I feel like people can essentially book whoever the fuck they want. But I mean, I personally, as if I were to book something, I would want to book somebody that has a demonstrated, 1, really good track record, 2, they're working hard, 3, they're consistent, 4, people like them, 5, they're just not a dick. Like, because there's a million funny people, and I just, you know, I don't care how funny you are. If you're a fucking dick or a diva or a fucking headache, like, you can do someone's bringer show. Like, I would rather work with somebody that isn't going to give me a hard time when we're all trying to do something that's supposed to be positive and fun.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so this is interesting because I'm talking to you about this now, and then after you, I hope my last person on the show, just so I can cancel him, if like not cancel him, but like just so I can bump him. I forgot that cancel is a word in 2021. Just so I can bump him and be like, oh, we don't have time for you. Sorry, David Shapiro. Bye. So I think he's too open about things. Do you think, like, is there a point? It sounds like you think there's a point of like where people would be like, oh no, too much problems, or is it just being an asshole? That's like that you would want to stay away from.
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand that last part of the question. So
that was,
are
yeah.
you talking about people that are super transparent about their problems online? Or?
Yes. Do you think, like, is it just people that are assholes online, or do you think people you ascribe to what Phil said,
Yeah.
where it's like, yeah, people don't need to know everything.
So, like, I think for me, what would be hurtful to another, like, just for a comedian in general, is to get perceived as an asshole that doesn't treat people right online. But also, if they bring that same energy to the point where they're like deliberately antagonizing people, like, to me, that person, I already think like that person, they're not a comedian. They're not. Like, to me, like, once somebody crosses that line where they're a jerk to people, they antagonize people, and this is all online too, they say shit for no reason, like that other dumb bitch I was talking about, and when they say shit in person that where it's very clear that they think higher of themselves than what's actually being presented, then at that point, that person to me is no longer a comic. They are a fucking character. And there's a lot more characters than there are comics in the Bay Area comedy scene.
I had to think about that for a second. I understand it. I haven't spent too much time in the Bay Area scene. Ironically, though, I had a show not like a week ago, March 10th, but like a year and a week ago, March 10th. And Phil was actually going to be in the show. He wasn't feeling well that day, so I never got to meet him. But I think it's ironic that he told you not to put all your feelings online just because of his name. But yeah, I know I'd like to meet him because he is a real comic and not a character.
He's fucking fantastic, dude. Like,
I've heard he's so amazing. And yeah, no, I want to meet him. I want to have him in a show. Also, why are there so many characters in the Bay Area comedy scene?
I feel like there's people, and, you know, to be fair, I don't think this is really specific just to the Bay Area. I think maybe any major metropolitan area sort of has something like this. I feel like the reason there's more characters than actual comics is because there's several reasons. Like, I think that because, I hate to say it, man, I feel like social media makes people want to compete with each other. So, you know, and I think because there's so many aspiring comics and only so many booked shows, they feel like in order to stand out, they have to do something fucking outlandish, which to me doesn't it doesn't evoke somebody that's serious about comedy if they feel like they're at the point where they have to do something like outlandish or shock value-ish to be noticed. To me, that reminds me more of like reality TV, when there's people that are known more for starting shit with other people than for any actual discernible talent that they may or may not have. And I think a lot of people they tend to like act out and feel the need to respond. They don't want some other person showing them up. In the cases of some of the open micers in the Bay Area, for example, you know, they view people that actually are considered working comics as elitist, or, you know, fucking, they say so much shit, but it's just like, I feel like if you were regularly being booked, you wouldn't have time to talk all this shit, would you?
I think How would you compare it to the Sacramento scene? Because that's the one I know better, obviously.
So I feel like I've always been welcomed by the Sacramento scene. And a lot of people ask me too, it's like, Ivy, where do you like performing? And they're always surprised when I don't explicitly say the Bay Area, because I've always said Santa Cruz, Sacramento, like anywhere that's, and it's not like I don't like performing in the Bay, because, you know, I grew up in the Bay. Like, I'm from Hayward. This is my home. You know, I got to represent. But the reason I love performing in places like Santa Cruz or Sacramento is because I feel like, one, I think the audiences are more appreciative of some comedy. I feel like in the Bay Area, it's like hit or miss, because there's some people that it's like, okay, well, I paid you, now tell me jokes. It's almost like, here's some money, monkey, just fucking dance. Like, that's what it feels like sometimes in the Bay Area, as opposed to when you go to like Sacramento, you get to know like different scenes, different types of audiences. I personally have had like really positive experiences performing in SAC, which is why I'm always so keen to come back. And you know, it's one of the things that I find as a pet peeve from other comics in the Bay Area is, you know, when we're discussing other scenes and other comics or whatever, and they're just like, I don't know who that is. It's like, really? Like, you only know your fucking like 5-block radius of who's performing directly around you, and you don't make it a point to try to get to know other people in other scenes? Like, you really think the Bay Area is the only place in the world that has funny people? Wake the fuck up. So I've made it my business to know the scene in SAC, to know Santa Cruz, like even like Slow and Bakersfield and Modesto, like that. It's so, I don't want to say underrated, because I think to some degree, like a lot of people know that so much cool stuff comes out of there. But I feel like, you know, from the perspective of a person that's in the Bay Area and is sort of like in their own sort of sheltered little bubble, they wouldn't know that. So, but I really like the Sacramento scene. Like the venues I've performed at, the people I've performed with, I have never gone to a show or a mic in SAC and not felt welcome, which is more than I can say for some of the stuff that happens in the Bay Area. It's not like I've never, you know, maybe when I was first starting out, like nobody would talk to me, but you know, it's just, I've never had that experience working in SAC, which is Sacramento, book me.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, there's not,
I got a car, man, I'll drive.
There's not, I know Laughs is doing shows right now. They just did a shows inside and outside contiguously. So I don't know if that's the right word there. At the same time, contiguously works, but there's a better word. Simultaneously. They did inside and outside simultaneously. And I think that's the only club doing shows right now here. So yeah, but you've worked there. I've seen you there. So, oh, and the other thing I was going to say is we can just call that, if she comes up again, we can just call that comic a Kathy, because that's a name that I find I have bad luck with, and that's not this person's name, so we're not saying
Kathy,
her name.
okay.
Yeah.
Kathy.
And there's no comics I know named Kathy, so we could just call her Kathy, because I hate Kathys. So
Kathy. Kathy it is.
Yeah, and that way we're not saying Karen, we're not confusing people. And then the other thing is, this popped in my, are you a Keeping Up with the Kardashians watcher?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay, so when you said that there are comics that are characters and they're known for they're like reality TV stars who are known for starting shit but with no discernible talent, I would say those comedians are Scott Disick's, right? Because you have your like Kims and your Chloes, and it's like, yeah, okay, maybe you don't appreciate what they're doing, but maybe they're doing like the damn thing. And then you have Scott Disick's of the world who are just there taking up space and causing fights. Why? Go away.
Here's the thing. Okay, I have watched this show steadily since it started, which I'm not afraid to admit it. Like, I actually have a sweatshirt that has all the names, all the K names, and I'm trying to see if I can find a way to cross out Kanye and replace it with Chris. So, that being said, I feel like a better analogy for this, because I feel like Scott is, especially towards the end of the show, like Scott has actually kind of come into his own. Like he's like legit funny. He's given everybody their nicknames. He does take up space, but I think he's one of the people that had one of the best like character development arc storylines of the show. I would probably say if there's people that are taking up space that are sort of fucking useless, it would be more like Kim's friend Jonathan, like that hair guy. You know, like he's constantly, you know, he's at dinner, but he doesn't do anything. He doesn't talk. Like, I'm sure he does hair, but it's like I feel like there's other people on the show in their network that do hair and are known for that for better reasons. I feel like he's somebody that's sort of like a hanger. I view him as a hanger-on, somebody that sort of rides the coattails of other people. And he actually, to me, has no real discernible talent. And he's also known for like going into people's DMs and just being a dick to them. So I'm also like super biased because I like Scott. Like Scott grew on me. I remember in the first like maybe 5 seasons where he was getting his like drug or alcohol shit under control. He was like fighting Rob, Chloe hit him in the face, like all that kind of stuff, whatever. But I think like towards the end, he's actually come to be like a real part of the family. And Jonathan to me is just so fucking useless. I was like, why are you here? Like, what purpose? Like, you're not part of the glam squad. You just kind of eat. You're just here at every single dinner that they show, and you have no real contribution to the development of anybody else on this program.
Well, okay, so first of all, I was really proud of that analogy, and I shouldn't have brought it to you because you're an actual. I haven't watched it in a long time, so but it was a good analogy in my mind, and it failed the test. Secondly, by rule of Jake. What's his name? The hairdresser? Jonathan. By the rule of Jake, Jonathan is he's getting the gig where he's getting food. So good for him. He knows exactly what he's doing. And like, shame on you, Ivy. You've done enough things that you know he's saying things. They're just editing it. They're not editing it in because it's either not funny or not interesting. So he's probably talking his ass off he's probably trying to get famous, and he's like free food and I'm gonna get well known, and then they never show him talking because
this is why I'm comparing him to like open micers, because yeah, he's probably talking a lot, but the fact that it's not making it to air tells me it's either not funny, it doesn't contribute positively in any way, and he's basically taking up space. So like which is like a lot of the open micers in the Bay Area. If I'm
okay, so really quick. So every time I have a guest that doesn't know me very well, I'll say something like, "Well, I'm just an open micer," and like blah blah blah, and they'll be like, "No." So what is your definition of a comic and an open micer? I want to see where I fall.
So I would say a comic is somebody that gets booked. Like there's somebody that they have a regular schedule of shows. You don't really see them at mics anymore. Not because we're too good to go to mics. I mean, I'll pop into a mic every so often if I have something to work out.
Because you're in a show.
But
when
really,
the mic
like
is
the
happening.
whole point of an open mic, besides practicing, is also just a chance to utilize the networking. Because, like for me, I considered myself like an open micer for maybe the first couple of years. Like when I came back, like I did not even refer to myself as a comedian until I started getting booked regularly on things that weren't bringers. I had some sort of consistency. Other comics knew who I was. The caliber of the people that I was working with was getting higher and higher. I would probably say like an open micer is somebody that has not achieved that yet. And it's not because they're not funny or talented or, maybe it is. But they're at the point of their life. What differentiates them is that they're at the point of their life where they still have to introduce themselves to people. They still have to talk to others at open mics. They still have to, like, if somebody in Bacon says, "Hey, I've got this like open spot, whatever," they still have to respond to that and be like, "I'm interested." I'm not trying to flex here, but it's been a long time since I've had to ask somebody to do their show. You know what I mean? So when they get to that point where they're not asking the people, when they're getting the offers, I would probably consider them a comic. Like, I feel like it's really premature when I see people that have never really done a ton of booked shows, when they have like such and such comedy or such and such comedian in their Instagram handles, and I'm just like, you barely do anything. Like, you shouldn't put Bob Smith comedy. Like, that shouldn't be your fucking name. You're not a comedian. Slow the fuck down. Like, you have all this branding, but you don't have 5 minutes. Fuck you.
Bob Smith, comedian official.
That was a little catty.
No, I'm with you. And that's what I was saying. I was like, I can't stand it when I see an Instagram and it's like Bob Smith, comedian official, and it's like 2 pictures, and they're both like his friend took them at an open mic of him, and it's like, a comedian of what? Like, you're like, I almost feel like it should be like you know how you can't, so you law school, you know how you can't like represent yourself as a lawyer, right? Like, it's illegal.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so you're not a JD. I think maybe comedians should have like a CM. I know that stands for something else. I don't know what it stands for. And that way That way you don't have open micers like OMs. Like they can't be like, oh, I'm a CM, because you're not.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like there was a guy, that slid into my friend. So I'm at the point now where like my civilian friends, and when I say civilian, I mean non-comedians. My civilian friends will run into people that identify themselves as comedians and they'll ask me, Ivy, is this person a comedian? And, I'll have to look. I'm like, okay, what's their name? And I check their social media. I see who they've worked with or the lack thereof. And then I'm like, no, that's not a comedian. No, that's not even somebody that has ever been on a show, like, ever. He probably started like 2 days ago. Like, that's no.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm somewhere in the middle on your scale, because I don't get booked, right? But I don't have to introduce myself at open mics. So I don't know where I fall, but that's why I describe myself as an open micer, because I'm not out there getting booked. And like, so yeah, I see. Okay, I was right. That's all I wanted to say. I like being right. Okay. You mentioned sexually educating adults.
Yep.
Tell me about that.
Absolutely. So like when I'm not doing my tech job and I'm not telling jokes and I'm not being a mom, my volunteer work is I'm a sex educator with an organization in San Francisco called San Francisco Sex Information. I have not actually been like on the training staff, or I've been on the training staff before, but like I have not actively been part of any trainings in the last year or two, because this year was COVID related, and last year I just did not have the bandwidth to do this. But I actually took an internship with them. I did a 60-hour sex education training, which is 4 non-consecutive weekends, and I was lucky to be one of the last classes that took their training at the Armory building in San Francisco. Do you know what that is, right?
No.
Yeah, so it's this really old, like, I think it was like a former like military building, and they used to actually house this porn company called kink.com. And so, but they also, in addition to dungeons and like sex related stuff, they also had like administrative offices and break rooms and classrooms and things like that, because for education.
Yeah.
So we would share a break room with people that were coming off of performing for kink.com. So there would be a guy that would come into the break room. He would like take the nipple clamps off, take the thing off his face, and then go grab like a Tupperware of like some spaghetti and heat it up and like sit next to me on the couch. Like, it was just such a cool experience. And then after that training, I did an internship with them for another training. And then I joined the staff like 6 months later. And so like one of the things that I love about it is that I get to work with so many like intelligent people. I've worked with adult film stars, like consultation type stuff. I've done lectures about like sex and disability, sex and commerce, which is like prostitution and porn and things of that nature. Just exploring all the things about human sexuality that is sort of missing from a more traditional sex education curriculum. And the reason why this is so important to me was because I feel like, as not even just an Asian American woman, I just feel like there's so much to sex that is not often talked about. And I'm just like, we should just destigmatize all this shit. Like, we should be having these conversations. They're important conversations to have, especially when it comes to things relating to somebody's like sexual identity, for example. Like, there's a lot of people that, have been working through years of trauma from a childhood and an adolescence that, where they didn't know what their identity was, or they knew and the other people in their families didn't accept this. So, the whole point of doing sex education is to encourage people to have these conversations, and also to some degree we also provide like a harm reduction approach, because the thing is, I don't teach sex ed to kids. I teach sex ed to like adults, and by adults I mean like college students, other sex educators, sex workers, social workers, and anybody that has their own clientele to talk to about modern human sexuality. And the thing about harm reduction, and the reason why this is important, is because people are going to do what they're going to do. Okay, they're like adults, they're discerning adults, whatnot. The whole point of a harm reduction approach is to show them, okay, well, if you're going to do this, this is how you do this without dying. Like, that's important, because people, they're gonna experiment. There's more than one way to enjoy sex, and so like we want to make sure that whatever message we portray is, we want you guys to have your fun and just try not to kill anybody, which is a really good philosophy for life.
Yeah.
Have fun, just don't kill anybody.
Yeah, no, that's a great philosophy. Also, some of those open micers should have that as a philosophy. Don't kill anybody with your terrible jokes. I do know what the Armory is because I forgot I knew what it was. But somebody messaged me one time on Instagram and was like, "Will you be my mistress?" And I was like,
"Oh,
sure." But I didn't know, like, I was like, how do I get paid for this? Because Instagram's not the joint where I'm gonna get paid for it. I found that out pretty quick. But then I was like, oh, I can. You know what I want to do? Because if I'm the mistress, I'm in charge. I'm just gonna be like, hey, read this book, and don't talk to me until you've read the whole thing. And then, like, what do you call it? I'm encouraging literacy and getting paid for it. So that's I wanted to do that, but it didn't happen.
There's other opportunities for that to happen.
I'm in. What's funny is I probably knew you at the time, and I was asking people, like, who do I know that works there? And I didn't know anybody, but here we are. Okay. Let's talk about stand-up comedy. We've talked about everything else. I'd like to talk about stand-up comedy with you. What do you like about stand-up comedy?
I like that it's one of the few things that I know to some degree that I feel like I'm good at this. You know, I feel like I'm good at this. This works for me. One of the things I like about it is that it's incredibly personal, and it gives me such a rush in the way that theater and improv and sketch did not, because that was my background. Like, I was a theater kid before I came to stand up, before I found it. My producing partner, Joseph Annalyn, he and I were actually mentored by Kevin Camilla, who now I think tours with Ali Wong. And so he was part of our theater community, and he did this workshop way back in the day. I think it was like 2006-ish. For theater, for like the theater kids that wanted to go on to stand up. That, and he still does the workshop to this day. And so, like, once I found stand up, I felt like, okay, maybe I finally found my thing. And so that's one of the things I've liked about it, is that there's so much of myself I can put into it, and it's just, I feel like I get so much back for such little effort.
Do you feel like you're more open during stand up than you are online?
Do I what?
Do you feel like you're more open when you're on stage doing stand-up than you are when you're online?
Yeah, I feel like the person that's on stage, maybe not less open. I would probably say the person on stage, when you see me go on stage, I'm probably just as open. I'm just more aggressive about it than I am online. Because online, I think about, okay, well, there's things that can be taken out of context and whatnot, especially when somebody's typing. Whereas you see me on stage, you see that aggression, or you see me, like, there's no question how I feel about something, whereas online it's probably a little softer.
Well, yeah, you think about, you know what I was going to say, and this is some advice you can pass along to Jake. The best advice I ever got, sorry, I'm going to jump backwards and pause stand up, for online like correspondence, was when writing an email, like that, where you, like, let's say Kathy sent you an email, right? And you're like, fuck this bitch, I'm going to light her up with an email. Delete the last line of the email before your name, because that's usually where the most terse words are. And when when it was a really good drag friend of mine, when she told me, I was like, no. And then I started looking at all my angry emails, and I was like, it's true. I'm like really businesslike. I'll be like, yeah, blah, 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 please do this, please do that. And fuck you, bitch, Suzette. And I was
as
like,
per my previous email.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, it's true. The last line is where all the heat is.
Always.
So yeah. Okay. Well, you knew that. So stand-up comedy, you found it, you're good at it, you like it, you don't put in a ton of effort, and you get a lot back. What do you mean by that? Because
I don't mean to make it sound like I don't try, because
I know. That's why I want you to elaborate.
Yeah. So for me, it's like, when I say like little effort, it's just, I consider myself to work pretty hard, but by working pretty hard, I mean, I'm consistent. I show up. I'm professional. I do my job. You're never going to find me at a show like fucked up or high. I'm not a liability. So things like that. And really, it asks so little of us other than to just be a professional person to work with. Because I think what people forget, especially since comedy is not really a traditional kind of work environment, is that you should still treat it as a work environment. Like, would you show up to work like fucked up? Would you be fucking freebasing on a dentine wrapper outside your job? Why would you do that outside of Cobb's? I don't fucking understand. So shit like that. Like, and so for me, it's like for somebody that's accustomed to putting on my professional face and treating comedy as my job. That's what I mean when I say it asks so little of us. It just asks us to be professional and to show up and to do our job. And then in return, you maybe gave somebody, like, you made their night like a positive night. You gave them a positive experience. Maybe they found something relatable in your material that is just like, you know what, I'm a parent too. Like, this makes sense to me. And really, so that's the audience component. And then of course the other stuff is just the friendships and the connections that I've made. And, one of the things that I always tell younger comics is to, don't, like, I've always told younger comics, don't treat comedy like it's an extension of your personal life. Like, you got to have your own personal friends. You got to have your own, like, because I think when people do that, they tend to get caught up in situations, and then that takes away their focus from being serious about comedy. But as I've gotten older, I still sort of feel that way, but like as I've gotten older, like I've relaxed my stance on like, making friends. Like you find the people that are your people. Sure. And then when you find those people, you fucking hold on to them. So that's the thing when comedy, like if I feel to some degree like comedy asks so little of us except to not be an asshole and to just be funny. And then in return, you get, the impact that you've made on people. You work with people that you respect, the friendships, the nights on the road, the unforgettable things. Like, I've got so many fucking memories right now, like with Chelsea, for example. And it's funny because like when I actually first started as a comedian, like I was like legit in awe. I'm still in awe of Chelsea to some degree. And so just to even be perceived as like a friend or a peer, it's just like, there's the fangirl inside of me. It's just like, what? Yeah. Do I belong here? Like, what the that's sort of what it feels like sometimes. But, that's what I mean when I say, like, little effort for so much reward.
I do feel stupid when people are like, oh, I watch your show on Twitch and it's good. And I'm like, yeah, a lot of it's because Chelsea's there. That's the good parts in my interview. Chelsea in the interview. Just don't watch me. Ignore me.
You're fun to watch. Shut up.
Yeah, but Chelsea is a lot of fun to watch. So, but thank you for your kind words. Fuck, I was gonna say something. Yeah, you're a professional. I've booked you. I've worked with you, and it's not hard. Like, I hate when people aren't professional. I'm like, do you want to do this for a living? Because you're making it really hard for me to work with you, and I don't have to ever again. So I don't know why people do that. Also, I love that you went after the person who's freebasing but still cares about the sugar on their teeth with Dentine. So, because that's a real thing. Okay, let's see. I don't have you very long, so I'm going to try to get... I'm not going to get through all my questions, so we'll have to bring you back.
No, you know what? Like, I don't even think the next show starts for another half hour. You'll be fine. Let's keep going.
Do we have time, Jesse? Okay, cool. Just making sure there's nothing after. All right. What do you hate about stand-up comedy?
Some of the fucking people. Like,
Sure.
I feel like there's people that make it. It's like almost like they take away the joy from other people doing stand-up, and it's like, why do you fucking do that to other people? Like, I hate that it fosters a sense of competition among some people because, at the end of the day, we all want to do this. It's like nobody wants to have none of us want to have a regular fucking desk job. I don't give a fuck how many degrees we have. Like, we all would want nothing better to do with our lives than to stand and have a microphone. So it's just like, why would you deliberately try to trip somebody up? Like, you don't think there's enough room for all of us? Like, come on, man. Like, I hate that. I hate people's negativity. I hate that. I hate, this is probably like really judgmental. I don't like being approached by drunk people after shows. Yeah. I just don't like it when people are drunk at shows, period. I'm like, it's like, do you know how many people would kill to be on the stage? Like, why the fuck are you here? And why the fuck are you fucked up? Like, I hate that. The other thing I also hate is people that either don't pay you or they're just like, oh, this is not a show, but I'll pay you in like weed pastries. Okay, bitch, you know what? If I really wanted to, I work in tech, okay? I can afford an 8-ball. I don't need your fucking weed. Like, pay people properly or don't have a fucking show. Like, it's just why?
Did you say?
And I also just I don't know. I also just hate. I don't want to say I hate comedians because some of the best people I know are comedians. But one of the things I hate is when people can't differentiate who you are as a human being from what they see on stage, which is fucking. I get a lot of that shit, especially with some of my subject matter. And I would say, to give people credit where credit's due. Most of the people that have actually talked to me or worked with me, they understand that the person that's on stage when Aivy Cordova's on stage is a more amplified and aggressive version of the person that I actually am as a human being. And so, like, it bothers me when people that I encounter don't recognize or acknowledge that. It's like, oh, okay, let me just choke you out. It's like, bitch, I carry weapons. Like, don't fuck with me. Like, don't do that to yourself. Like, I know you have kids and they need a father, so I'm not going to beat your ass today, but maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should watch how the fuck you talk to women that you don't really know. How about that? Yeah. Men, that's another thing. Just men. Some of the men in this scene are just fucking disgusting. And, on one hand, I've worked with some really positive, like male comics. And for me, I'm somebody that I've always had I've always had male and female friends, like platonic friends my entire life. Like, I know how to navigate friendships and relationships with the opposite sex, no problem. It's the skeezy guys in this scene that fucking make me not want to work with men.
Yeah, no, skeezy guys aren't
They're
good
not even
anywhere.
that fucking funny. I'm just like, seriously? Like, does that ever work for you or anybody else? Like, save that shit for somebody with lower self-esteem and go away before you embarrass yourself. Like, that's how I feel about a lot of the men.
Okay, so generally speaking, it's still the OPs or the OMs. I forgot what I called them. It's the OMs and the Cathys that you don't like dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. Wow, you said another thing that I can't remember. You keep saying things, and I want to.
Do you
say
want me to look?
something.
I have a thing.
You, no, it's I'll remember it later. Okay. What's the most interesting show, or experience that stand-up comedy has given you?
Okay. Let's see here. One time. Oh my god, this is so much. So there's two that I want to talk about. One was when me, Chelsea, and Erie Diamond, one of our girls, another really good comic, the three of us we went on, we call it tour, but we went to Fort Bragg for a gig, and it was okay. First of all, Fort Bragg is really fucking far, and this is also a very unique experience because the show was at this Masonic hall or whatnot, and they were serving alcohol through the entire thing, and not one person called an Uber to drive home. I was just like, is this a town where there's just no police? Like, holy shit. And then we also met some really interesting people. One of them said that he was so he runs a funeral parlor, and he gave me his information. He was just like, if you want, next time you're in town, I can let you watch while I do a postmortem. I was like, that would be awesome, actually. Like, I would totally. So that was pretty unique. That was like super fun. And then we just all had fun in the hotel room, like, just getting munchies and just hanging out, just girl time. It was like a really awesome time. And then there's another show that I did when I was in LA, and it was outside of a coffee shop, and this is sort of like technically an outdoor show, but it's an outdoor show but it was outdoor before even COVID. And so it's called The Green Room, and if you ever heard of it, like, you should watch it. It's one of my favorite, like, the guys that run it, like, really great guys. And so I actually randomly met them when I was at the Comedy Store the night before visiting one of my homegirls. And so they hit me up the next day, and they're just like, we've got room on the lineup. I was like, what? So I went there, and the reason they call it The Green Room is because it's like super 420 friendly. Like, there's like THC lemonade, they have tacos. It's just a fun experience. And I was just like, this is everything an outdoor show should be. So really fantastic experience. And then what else? I would probably say, shit, man, I think the first time I had a show with you and I saw all your dress changes, I was just like, This is fucking phenomenal. Like,
Thanks.
I can barely button my own pants, let alone like pull off a fucking like 6 different dresses during this show at Cobb's. Like, that's badass. I was like, this is dope.
Okay, so yeah, if anyone's watching has ever been to one of my live shows, I do like 9 costume changes.
It was awesome. I was like, this is that's like.
But
that's
again,
badass.
credit where credit is due. I can't do that myself. It's like NASCAR. Like I pull into the dressing room and I have somebody helping me. That night was a comedian friend. When I do it in SAC, I have like a dresser basically. I pull in backstage. I have no idea what's going on stage. That's why I love to work with people that I know exactly what's going to happen.
Yep.
Because I know they're not gonna flake after 5 minutes and like leave me naked. I know how long I have for the drag queens. I can hear what's going on, kind of. I actually bought a baby monitor at one point because I thought maybe I could hear it didn't work at all. But yeah, I pull into the dressing room and usually I'm like unzipping or unbuttoning or like shredding something. I literally someone unzips my shoes or unbuckles my shoes. I step into new shoes. They buckle them. They zip them. They pull up a dress. I put it over my shoulders. They zip the back. I check everything, and then like I'm off. So it's not just me. It looks cool, but it's not just me. So,
Right. Takes a village.
it does. Oh my God! It takes a village for Suzette Veneti to be. Oh, that's what it was. Okay, it takes a village for Suzette Veneti to be Suzette Veneti. You were talking about comedians and like how much of a bummer it is that it's like so competitive. I was just talking actually with the friend that helped me as a dresser at Cobb's. Which, by the way, if you ever gonna do a show where you change 9 outfits, the green room at Cobb's is the one to do it in because that's huge. I was like. And for that show, the producer was like, "You can just have this as your dressing room."
That's perfect. I love the green room at Cobb's in general because it feels like a small apartment.
There's a shower and everything. And she wanted me to do the outfit changes. It wasn't my show, and I usually only do that at my shows. And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And I had never been to Cobb's, and I walked in and I was like, "Oh, I'll just put my clothes in the room with the pinball machine or whatever, the arcade machine. Cool. It's huge." So that's the one. But what I was gonna say, the guy that helped me as my dresser that night, we were talking the other day about that exact thing, about how comedians are like not really helpful with each other. And I was saying, so you don't know this about me, but I have the best drag family, right? And it's not traditional, right? Like I wasn't just somebody, like I am somebody's drag daughter, but then I just kind of picked and choose my aunts. I was like, you're my aunt, you're my aunt, you're my grandma, you're my aunt, you're my great grandma. And it's the best drag family anyone could want, honestly. And for some reason they just accepted it at some point. They stopped fighting it. But they're so helpful and they're so like they make sure they look out for me. They make sure I'm doing the right thing. They make sure I'm not going to embarrass myself too bad. I'm not going to embarrass them. We don't have that in comedy. And what if we had like houses in comedy? Like, wouldn't that be cool? Like, if we had if you were like the House of Bearce.
Dude, I think some of us actually talked about this at some point. Like, I was talking about this with, again, Chelsea, Jeanette, Marin, a couple of other folks, and we're just like, what if we all just like lived in a house? And we're just talking about how that would work out. And I think it's just a fantasy because all of us have children. But I feel like to some degree there should be, I guess groups of people that will specifically help one another out. But I think a lot of that also does exist in certain groups of friends, because I know that there's people that work together often, they collaborate both professionally, and you also know that they're really close friends outside of doing production. This is why I'm a huge fan, and I say this a lot, like I'm a huge fan of people in the South Bay, because then you have have you heard of the show Pick Your Poison?
No,
It's actually one of the this is one of the best shows in the South Bay, and so the two guys that run it are I wouldn't call them baby comics. I mean they're younger than me for sure, but I feel like they're a new generation of South Bay.
Sure.
And I think the thing that's so cool about the two of them and their personas when they perform, because one of them always plays sort of like not a good cop, bad cop, but they balance each other out on camera, and then when they're doing hosting shows, but then they're also super homies in real life. I love when people are actually close to the people that they work with as far as productions, and sort of like me and my own producing partner. I actually met Joseph in theater, so I've technically known him for like 15-ish years, for as long as I've had my professional career, is for as long as I've known him. Like, I am a huge fan of people that like work together, and they also hang out together, and then they also help each other out, like as far as like getting bookers and shows and things like that, because sometimes one person might be more connected than the other, and the other person might be connected to different people, and then when you put the two of them together, they can make that work and pull from resources and things like that. I think that's probably the closest thing I can think of to like an actual house.
Yeah,
is when you have just a close like network of friends that you know you can trust, that'll help you out if you go to another town. They have people for you, and so on and so forth. They're not going to let you just be out there grasping for comedy straws by yourself.
I definitely think that would be nice. And sometimes I think, because I do have, you know, some like really tight friends in comedy, and then I have some friends that are just like a degree off of that, and appreciate all of them. And they do look out for me. They do help me. They make sure. But it's not quite to the degree of my drag family. And it's just like, damn, like everyone needs a drag family for everything. Like, drag families are amazing. I'm glad that you have that support though, with some comedians. Because you're right. And that's something I always tell people when they tell me they want to do stand-up comedy. Like, don't do it to make friends. Like, don't get into stand-up comedy to make friends. Do it because you have a sick obsession to perform.
That part.
Yeah. Do it because you have to perform, and you're going to be telling the poor girl at Safeway jokes when you're checking out. Like, good jokes.
I was on another podcast where somebody actually asked me, you know, what's my advice to younger comics. I talked about that, but I also said at the end, you know, don't be hooking up with people left and right, because, you know, like, it's not, again, it's like hooking up with your coworkers. And then I also added at the end of that, if you're gonna fuck somebody, check their credits before you fuck them. Because I mean, if you're gonna completely disregard my advice about hooking up with people, at least let them be like a headliner somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be like, I fucked this guy, and then you look at his Instagram and he's never done stand-up outside of fucking Lake Merritt, for example. Like, is that something that you're prepared to admit to?
So, Ivy, I would fucking open micer before I did Kathy's show.
Before you did what show?
Before I did Kathy's show.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Okay.
Same. Like, I would have to tell the whole train of guys, like, let's do this before I do that show.
Yep.
Ever.
It's like just like an open mic. You guys should understand. Sign up 1 through 20.
That's
Let's go.
right.
Let's do this. You get 5 minutes. Okay. You are so open on stage about your sexuality. How does that affect your interactions when it comes to dealing with audience members off stage post show?
I try to, you know, for the most part, like, I try to keep it professional. Like, if you're like, oh, come over here, like, no, I'm good, thank you for coming to the show. You know, like, they want to go buy me drinks, and I always say no. I mean, I don't know if you know this about me, but I don't drink or smoke at shows. I mean, whatever I do in my personal life, that's my personal life. But when I am at a show, I just want to make sure that I completely have, you know, my faculties around me. Like, I don't want to ever be like incapacitated, because I've seen so many shows where I see like people drinking with audience members getting fucked up, and then it's like that crosses so many boundaries. I can't imagine. So for me, because I want to keep that differentiation between me and the audience, you know, if they're usually polite, they say thank you, whatever. There's people that are like, oh, let's talk. I'm like, no, have a good night. You know, unfortunately, this also comes from my past of working at nightclubs and things like that. I'm really good at being friendly but dismissive. It's like, okay, thank you, have a good night. Like, that usually closes the conversation right there. And if they try to follow me, you know, then that's when I get security involved, or, you know, I have to embarrass them in front of their friends, and that's not always fun. It's fun for me, but it's not fun for them. So usually that'll teach them the lesson.
Boundaries are good.
Especially since I feel like also the people that know me too, I think I think they get disappointed also, like, when they find out I'm not as sexual a person in person, despite what I talk about in stage. Like, I'm fairly vanilla in some ways. And I think when people like, not that I meet people at shows, but like, if there's people that, you know, I've met and they're aware of my comedy and what I do, it's like they realize, like, yo, it's a really different person. Like, I'm dealing with, like, not two completely different people, but it's just I'm a lot less sexual in person, and I think that's what people generally find out once they actually get to know me, is that the only time I'll really talk about that stuff is I'm with like really, really close friends, or I'm just fucking around and talking shit. But, you know, for the most part, a lot of that doesn't necessarily make its way into a regular conversation with audience members. Thankfully, 90% of them have been respectful.
That's good, because
Yeah.
I've had a lot of women comedians on, and they get asked some really weird questions by audience members. So you are a different person. You're more sexual on stage than off stage, but you are so open and free when you talk about sex and sexuality on stage. Does that affect wanting to have a long-term relationship?
You know, I think I've always felt like my default setting is non-monogamous. You know, it's just, I'm not saying that I'm anti-relationships, because I'm somebody that, like, I've been married before. You know, I have had a couple, like long-term relationships. I would probably say my most recent one was probably the most, like, it was two things. It was like the healthiest adult relationship I've ever had, which is horrible to say considering I've been married. And two, it's like, besides being super healthy, it was also just fully, you know, it was the way we got together, and even the way we broke up, because it was like one of those situations where I dated a friend. That was a fantastic experience. Like, you know, the breakup of course sucked, but like, you know, I'm still friends with the guy and things like that. And so I would probably say, I don't think the sexuality thing really impacts how I feel about relationships. Like, I think I've always felt like, to some degree, that I will commit to the right person. And commitment is going to look different from other people. But generally speaking, like, unless me and another person have had an explicit conversation about exclusivity, unless we've had that conversation, then whoever I'm seeing should assume that I'm also seeing other people. Like, I will absolutely honor a commitment if it's the correct person. But then again, even something like that, it's like, I'll know it when I feel it, and I haven't felt it in a while. So I feel like it's one of those, like, I'll cross that bridge when I get there type of things. That's also sort of how I felt about having children. It's like, you know, coming from a family of people that work in Silicon Valley, like, we were always encouraged to prioritize careers over everything. So it's just like, okay, well, now that I've got a career, I guess I can think about kids. And so I was 26, like 27 when I had Jake. So I think my views on relationships for the most part have not really changed.
So what are the pros and cons about polygamy if you're not a monogamous?
I think you mean polyamory, right?
Because yes,
polygamy
I do.
Is
Thank
like
you.
multiple. Polygamy is like multiple husbands. Like,
yes.
Bro, I don't even want one, let alone six. Like,
fair. Yes, I've been up for 27 hours. I mean polyamory. Yes. So what are the pros and cons of polyamory?
I think the pros are that it not forces you, but it encourages people to to be more transparent and to have dialogue and to communicate about things that that maybe most people just don't talk about in relationships. Like, you have to, like, when you're engaging in polyamory, and I just realized I rented this room, so I probably do only have a few minutes left. But that being said, I would say the pros are you can have those conversations. It forces you to be honest and transparent, because you know, when you're engaging in something like this where nobody's committed, like, you have to make sure that you're still protected, like, emotionally, physically, whatever. You have to talk about boundaries. You have to talk about what you're not going to tolerate. Talk about, you know, you have to make sure that whoever you're engaging in this with, you already have sort of a strong foundation, because you can't date somebody, I don't want to say you can't. People are adults. I feel like you shouldn't date somebody for like 3 months and be like, you know what, I want to try being polyamorous. It's like, you don't know that person well enough to know whether this is something that they're into, so you have to have that conversation. So the pros is that it forces people to have conversation. The cons, I think, or the one major con really to polyamory is that I think people sometimes use it as an excuse to just be a whore bag without communication or transparency, or they attach rules to other people that they don't honor themselves. So I think those are probably both the pros and cons of, like, engaging in ethical non-monogamy.
Okay, so I don't want you to go over your room rental, but we're at rapid fire. Do you think you have time for some rapid fire?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go as fast as you go. Have you ever worn a wig?
Yes.
Do you have a favorite color wig?
It was blonde.
If you wore wigs, would you name them?
I would not.
Okay. When you put a bra on, do you clasp it in the front and spin it around, or do you do the weird unnatural arm thing and clasp it in the back?
Oh, fuck no. I clasp it in the front and then I spin that. Like, my boobs, like, I absolutely, no, they have to be that way.
Yes. Okay. Chelsea and like one other person clasp in the back. And I've almost done 50 shows, and I've asked so many people that question. I'm glad you're on my side. How high is too high for high heels?
5 inches for me.
Okay. All right. That's very respectable coming from a lady that wears 6 inches all the time. So I like that. Which do you think the COVID-19 pandemic has affected more, the straight dating scene or the gay dating scene?
Sorry, what?
Which do you think the COVID-19 pandemic has affected more, the gay dating scene or the straight dating scene?
The straight dating scene, for sure, because I feel like gay people have a lot more, like in the past they've had a lot more to navigate than straight people. And so I think something like this, like, you know, talking about boundaries and things like that, I feel it's conversations they've always had, whereas straight people, yeah, I feel like they're at a loss, like, because they don't know how to meet people otherwise, like they may not be so adept with the apps. I feel like they've probably been affected more.
If you were performing tonight, which you are, but if you were doing a live show, what would your walk-up scene song be?
It would be Past That Dutch by Missy Elliott, but 10 seconds in.
Okay. That's, exactly. What is your favorite recurring show to perform in?
Let's see, live or Zoom?
Either. You answer how you want.
Okay, so one of the things I really like performing, I love my own, the playlist, which is monthly, last Monday of every month, and I also really like Pick Your Poison, which is based in San Jose.
What is your favorite venue to perform in?
God, that's a hard one. Cobb's.
Okay. What is the funniest thing an audience member has ever said to you after a show?
That's funny. They're just like, "Is your kid here?"
Who is your favorite comic?
I think it's like, you mean people I know or famous?
However you want to answer.
Okay. Famous. Chris Rock. Should be famous. Gonna be famous. Chelsea.
Agreed. Good choices on both. What is your least favorite children's TV show?
Caillou, dude, fuck that bitch.
I love
he should
when
get canceled instead of Pepe Le. Actually, you know what? I think he has been canceled. So, good job, Canada.
I love when I have moms on because they're like, "Fuck that bit." Like Chelsea. Have you ever asked what is his name? I can't remember his name. The one with the overalls.
Is it Caillou?
No, it's not Caillou. I need to look it up. But she will murder this person if she ever crosses them in the street. What is your favorite adult show that's disguised as a kid's show?
Rick and Morty.
Okay, you think kids like that's a good kids show?
I feel like because it's animated and it talks about, like, you know, traveling through time or whatever, people assume it's for kids. But I've watched almost all the episodes, and I can definitely tell you that it's not for fucking kids.
Oh, Blippi. That's who Chelsea would murder in the street. Blippi.
Blippi.
I shouldn't say she would murder. She didn't say that. I'm saying that. She hates Blippi, though. I don't want to get her, like, questioned by Blippi's people.
Yeah, totally.
What is your favorite sex position? If you don't mind me, we ask all the guests.
Doggy.
Okay. What is your favorite thing about the existence of brunch?
Day drinking and day drinking. That's really it.
Fair enough. Do you cook or bake?
I do.
Which?
I cook and bake.
Which do you like more?
I like cooking.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll explain later off the air. Do you like DC or Marvel?
Neither. I'm not super consistent in watching that shit. It's usually whatever Jake wants to watch, and I'll be honest, like half the time I'm like tweeting with very low phone battery.
You're checking his Insta with your Finsta while he's watching.
What's that?
I said you're checking his Insta with your Finsta while he's watching.
Exactly,
Yeah.
while we're at the fucking movie.
If we're at a show and someone's buying us shots after the show, not during the show, because you don't
Right.
drink during the show, but after the show, what are we shooting?
Jameson with a ginger ale back.
Yes. Okay, we're drinking together, Ivy. If someone's buying us drinks, what are we drinking?
I am either drinking a Moscow Mule
Mhm.
or I am drinking a ginger beer with a little bit of Jameson.
Okay, yeah, I'll drink with you. This is the most important question. Toilet paper, over or under?
Fucking over, dude.
Yes, thank you. Okay. And you know what? It's not the under people that have bothered me in 48 episodes. It's the people that are like, I don't care.
How do you not care, you savage?
Yes, you uncultured swine. What do you mean you don't care? Like, oh my God. Yeah, and I try to tell you can't be toilet paper verse. You have to be a top or a bottom. You can't be toilet paper verse.
Exactly.
Not okay. It's not okay. Do you have a favorite drag queen?
Let's see. Besides you and Taryn Thruer?
Taryn through you?
There you go.
Yeah.
Who was the Filipino one that I met?
Taryn through you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You two are super fun.
She
to
is
watch.
she is my really great friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna tell her later. And
Please
then,
do. I think she just recently accepted my friend request on Facebook. Well, not recently, but like a year ago. But like I was super excited. I was like, oh.
I will see her in about 20 minutes, and now you have to come to brunch because Taryn loves when my comedian friends that love both of us come to brunch.
So down.
Because
I'll coordinate with Chelsea and Jeanette. We'll make a day of it.
That's when Taryn gets to read me hard with my comedian friends, and they get to read me hard with Taryn. So it's just a lot of fun for everyone.
I'm excited.
Do you have a favorite drag king? And thank you, by the way. I don't think I deserve to be in her company as your favorite, but I will take it. Do you have a favorite?
Dude, fucking awesome.
Thank you. Do you have a favorite drag king?
Drag king. I don't know his drag name, but there's another comic named Sergio who does. Actually, you know what? Wait, is a drag king somebody that does like a woman that does drag as a man?
So, yes, generally a drag king is a woman that dresses up as a man.
Okay, I don't think I've seen a ton of people that do that, but
Okay.
I should look for that.
Well, so there's one in the Bay, Buster Right Open,
Okay.
amazing, and then there's one in Chicago, Tenderoni.
Tenderoni, that's an awesome drag name.
I always tell people to check out one of them. Usually, I try to think of who you might enjoy. Tenderoni just won drag queen. Its competition's called Drag Queen of the Year, but Tenderoni's a drag king. So Tenderoni is like in Chicago and amazing, and then Buster Right Open is local to your neck of the woods and amazing. Oh, this one is just for my self-esteem. Do you think I'm pretty?
You're so pretty.
Well, thank you. Okay, I could just you. That was so nice. You said it. I liked it. It was so fast and felt
You're
honest.
fucking gorgeous, dude. Like, why?
Thank you. Okay, when all of this is over, and there's a wait, why? I don't know, because it's natural. When all of this is over, and you're what are you most excited to do when there's a new normal, old normal, whatever normal? What are you most excited to do first?
I want to have a good bowl of pho.
Yes.
Dude, like that, ordering pho and ramen through DoorDash is bullshit. Like, that's another thing I'd rather suck dick than do. Like, just I want to get real pho. I want to get Korean barbecue. I'm actually turning 40 in May, so I'm hoping that maybe by then there'll be something I can do with my friends, or just I'll fuck it all up. Like, I just want food-related shit to come back.
Oh, if you were a white man comedian, you would have said you would fuck it up.
Fuck it up.
Yeah, because of the puns. We have good pho here in Sacramento, and there's a Korean barbecue place. So if you're here, I'll have to tell you where it is.
Absolutely.
And if it's not a Sunday, I will go with you.
Good.
Ivy Cordova, that's all my questions. Thank you so much for coming on. I had so much fun.
This is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anything else I can... Oh, sorry, I'm like so default on like helping mode. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, but where
This
can
is
people...
super fun. This is super freaking fun.
Thank you. Where can people find you?
People can find me on Instagram. I'm under AIVY. So that's my first name.
that's
Cordova's
under
my
your
last name.
feed.
Just Aivy Cordova.
Uh-huh.
That's the same name as my website. Don't add me on Facebook, bro. That's for family. But Instagram, all in.
Instagram. And do you have any upcoming shows? When is the playlist? It's every Monday night, you said? What time?
So the March playlist show is going to be on the 29th at 8 p.m. That is on Zoom. And you can actually follow that account as well on Instagram. It's under Playlist Comedy.
Okay. So people can find you there. They can find live dates on Instagram. That's where they can find you. They can set your Instagram is under your picture, so people will have an easy way to do it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. I will talk to you soon. I have lots to talk to you about off air, and then we got to figure out when you're coming to brunch.
Sounds fantastic. We'll coordinate soon.
Love you. Bye. All right, peers and queers, that was Aivy Cordova. She's amazing. Find her, follow her, go see her shows, watch the playlist on Monday nights. Follow that account too. And she'll be at brunch, and maybe we'll do another live show with everyone. Okay, and with that, we're going to get to the person that I like to bump, but we won't bump him tonight. We'll let him be on the show. He produces acts, whatever. I don't know. He fails at a lot of things. Hi, failure. Hi, David Shapiro. How are you? Oh, he's not there yet. See, he failed at that. He just, does he do anything right? Chelsea was right there. Ivy was right there. David wasn't. So, David?
Hey, Suzette. How are you?
How are you? I'm okay.
Okay, cool. This week I'm genuinely asking.
Thank you.
Genuinely interested in knowing.
I'm well.
Thank you for asking me. I am, easier to ask than answer. That's my stock answer. So I wanted to talk today. Do you mind if I talk about whatever I want? Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I wanted to talk about holiday candy, right? So it is universally in the Gentile world. It is Easter season, right? We've passed Valentine's Day. It's not Easter yet, so that in the grocery stores and in the Targets and everything, Easter candy is around, and I am addicted to these. Are we backward? I think we're backwards. I don't know. I don't know how to work Zoom. I'm sorry. Zoom is weird. But these Cadbury mini eggs, it doesn't work if Cadbury mini eggs, I really, really like them. They're really delicious. And I like to buy them and eat them, because that's what you do with candy. Why can't I buy them all year is my question, right? That looks tacky in the background. Let me just put that. It kind of blends in with the wall if it's against.
Focus.
Okay, here. So I would eat them all year is the thing. And it's good that I can't because they're milk chocolate and I have lactose intolerance, and so milk chocolate really isn't the best thing for me. But I would like to be able to buy them year round. And I understand that holiday candy, because of supply and demand, isn't available all year round. If it's only available before Easter, and like 2 months before Easter, month and a half, whatever, then they assume people will buy it. My ex-wife, she once said, I want a Cadbury egg every day of the year. She loved the big Cadbury eggs, not the mini. She liked the mini, like me, but she loved the big Cadbury eggs. And she once said, I want a Cadbury egg every day of the year. And before we got a divorce, I went to a store. I can't remember if it was Safeway or if it was Target, but it was after Easter. It was when the Easter candy was 50% off. And I bought her 356 Cadbury eggs. She did not eat one Cadbury egg every day of the year. She ended up stopping. I believe that was the year that she filed for divorce. So it's very possible that hacking the holiday candy system, I created a divorce scenario where my ex-wife was overwhelmed with Cadbury goodness and divorced me because of that. I don't know. I digress. Point is, you still with me?
Yes,
okay.
Unfortunately.
Point is, I would like to be able to buy these Cadbury mini eggs year round. I would like to be able to buy those little Valentine cinnamon hearts year round. I would like to be able to buy those Valentine's message hearts year round, right?
Yeah.
There's not a Halloween candy I would buy year round because I don't like candy corn and the rest of it's available all year. Is there a holiday candy that you enjoy? It's just those three, right? Just those three holidays that have their special candies.
I don't eat a lot.
Furthermore,
of candy.
why don't all holidays have a special candy? I think all Gentile holidays should have a special candy. I think President's Day should have special president head candy. I think, what other holiday? 4th of July is out of vogue, out of vogue. What other holidays do you Gentile people celebrate?
I don't.
Okay, well,
Thanksgiving,
President's Day,
Uh-huh.
Memorial Day. What's the other one? Labor Day.
Yes, that is a
May Day.
holiday.
That's a big white person holiday, I believe. I don't know. May
It's
Day.
not. It's not.
Christmas candy. Is there Christmas candy? There's Hanukkah candy.
Yeah, there's
the
Christmas
Gelt.
candy.
We like the Gelt.
Candy canes.
I don't know. Oh, candy canes.
Yeah,
duh. Right?
I know.
I would buy
I just
candy
said
canes
that.
year round.
Yeah.
Why is peppermint a winter flavor and cinnamon a winter flavor? Those should be available to me all year. Anyway, business idea for anyone out there that wants to start I don't want to do this. I don't want to start this business. But have a store where you sell the holiday candy year round. Cadbury mini eggs, get them year round. Cadbury big eggs, get them year round. Valentine message hearts, get them year round. Candy corn, for the disgusting people that want it, get them year round. I think that's somebody is missing out on this opportunity. Right. And you're probably like, why, David, are you talking about Easter candy 2 weeks before Easter? Well, because I'm Jewish and I don't know when Easter is. I had to look it up before this segment. But I did see it begins on the last day of Passover, which is starts next week. So next week we can talk about Passover, but I wanted to talk, which again we use gelt for, but really more it's about matzah and afikomen. We'll talk about that when the time comes.
Turn off your phone. Oh, and he's gone. Okay, he turned off himself. He is bad at that. Jesse, these sweatshirts that I got to borrow because I wore a green shirt. How much are the sweatshirts?
I think it's still up there for like a $20 base plus like donation or something. So
Okay.
it's wide open. You can pay basically what you want.
They're really comfortable, and everyone should get them. And they can just go to the website for Stab. Yeah, so go to the Stab website, get a hoodie. They're really comfortable. They fit well, and I feel really cool wearing it. So do yourself a favor and get one. That's the show. Thank you to Chelsea. Thank you to Ivy. Thank you to Jesse. Thank you to Stab. Thank you to David, and we'll be back next week on the 28th with San Francisco drag queen Carne Asada. So don't miss it. It's going to be fun. 5:03. That's the time. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week.
Why are the credits messed up? Oh, sorry, guys. I don't. Here, let's do this. It should be better than that. I don't know. Here you go. There's credits.
The city's your playground. I watch you take a bite. At 5 a.m. roaming the streets, drunk all night. You think you're hot shit, and ooh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, yeah.